Seam heads, our Giants game day coverage begins now.
It's the mosaic.
So before gloves start popping,
diving, he makes the catch,
and bats start cracking,
it is gone.
We bring you the voice of Bay Area baseball for the past 29 years.
As I always say, baseball reflects what life is all about.
This is Talkin' Baseball with Marty Loring.
That's what we do. We talk ball.
On KNBR, the sports leader.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Talkin' Baseball. It is good to be back with you as we get to Game 2 between the Giants and the Detroit Tigers. The toothless Detroit Tigers. Boy, they don't hit at all. And it's coming at a good time for the San Francisco Giants. But it's good to be back. I took a week off last week and did the cruise to Alaska, believe it or not. It was very interesting. Stood on top of the glacier up there in Mendenhall and the glacier. And let me tell you something. It's very cold. It's freezing. And I'm glad to be back talking baseball with you. But I thank Glenn Kuiper and Raph, of course, and Sandra G for doing the show last week. And, you know, in all the 29 years I've been doing this, I don't take many vacations. This was, I think, one of the first time in years. So I was glad to do it, but I'm also glad to be back. And I was glad to follow baseball along the way. It was Crystal Cruises, and it was really nice. And Scott Peterson is the director, and Rick Spaeth is in there as well. And they were nice people. There really was. I had a good time, so I'm glad to be back talking ball with you. Well, Giants are doing what they're supposed to do, and it's this time of year. And I've said this for so many years to you. This is when baseball really happens. In the month of August. We've got 44 games to go. Everything is tightening up. We've never really seen a race this close in years, but it is close, and it's close all over baseball. Nothing is settled yet, really, with any of these teams, and I mean that with Seattle and Houston and Texas, and you got Minnesota now chasing Cleveland, and they swept Cleveland yesterday. And Alex Cobb pitched for Cleveland yesterday and didn't do that well. And then you get the Yankee-Oriole thing, and the Red Sox are still hanging around. And then you come to the National League, and the Phillies really, I think, have put away the Braves. The Braves are really in trouble, and we get the Braves next week for 4. And the Braves have lost 6 straight. This is not your Atlanta Brave team that we remember for the last 24 years. They are beaten up. They're injured. And they've got Jorge Soler playing right field, and you can imagine what that is. Remember Guerrero in the World Series for Texas, how he couldn't play right field at Oracle? Well, Jorge Soler, we know he's challenged defensively, and he's playing right for the Braves. So they're coming in next week for 4, and if you look at their pitching, and they built on pitching. I'll talk about the Braves a little bit now as long as I'm digressing. But they have gotten, I think, more than 5 innings one time in the last 6 or 7 games from a starting pitcher, and that includes Chris Sale, who went 4 2/3. And so Braves are in trouble, and they're going to get knocked out of this thing, and the Giants are going to pick these teams off one by one as we go through it. But the Giants are doing what they're supposed to do. It was a tough road trip. It really was. I know that take 2 or 3 from Cincinnati. And we had the Blake Snell no-hitter in there, which, of course, I didn't get to see, but I followed as best I could on the ship, once I saw what was happening. But you had that series, and then you had the weather in Washington, and some tough games against Washington. They were not easy. The Giants did what they had to do to win those games, but it was a long road trip and a long flight home. And to get the Detroit Tigers, who really have no starting pitching at all, bullpen game for them last night. They had a very tough loss Thursday night in Seattle where their right fielder, Vialdi, tried for a shoestring catch, and the ball went past him. And all the runners on base scored, and the Tigers ended up losing the game in a walk-off to Mitch Haniger, of all people. So the Tigers are not playing great baseball, no hitting at all, and we'll probably see somewhat of a bullpen game from them today. And we've got Logan Webb going for the Giants today. Well, the Giants win at 3-2 last night. They've won 12 of 16, 11 of 14, 3 straight. They've got 10 walk-off wins, and last night was another walk-off win. The Giants, 3 sacrifice flies last night, and they win the game 3-2. They're doing the little things to make it happen. It's funny, last night, Bo Brisky pitched for the Tigers, and Kenta Maeda, who we've seen a million times when he was a Dodger, and it looked like they were going to no-hit the Giants. And 6 innings, the Giants didn't have a hit, didn't come close to a hit, and these guys don't throw 100. They just had great control last night. And I said on Twitter, in the 7th inning, Fitzgerald was going to lead off. I said, bunt. You're down 2-0, even though it's a no-hitter, and you don't like to bunt on a no-hitter. You can do it when you're in a game that's that tight. But the third baseman was playing up, so he really couldn't lay down a bunt. But he got a hit anyway and got it started. And then Ramos gets the hit. Ramos is doing a great job, I must tell you. And he's hitting third. He's not hitting with a lot of power right now. He's got a bad thumb. But he is taking the ball the other way. And he took the ball the other way, about a 20 hopper through the infield, and got Fitzgerald to third. That was only the Giants' second hit. They're down 2-0 at this point. Tough night for Curt Casale last night, back from paternity leave, and had 3 errors. I think there's only one other catcher in baseball this year that's had so many in a game. He had a catcher's interference and a couple of throws that were all over the place, and I'm sure Bailey will be back in there today. But the Tigers did have a 2-0 lead. As I say, they don't hit. Javier Baez got a double, or Urshela got a double, and other than that, the rest of the team you've never heard of before. But they did put 2 runs on the board because the Giants had some defensive mistakes there in that first 6 innings. So they get back on the board. It's 2-1, and they get the big sacrifice fly from Conforto, who is playing good ball. Conforto had some big hits in Washington in that rain delay game, and he's not striking out. And he's putting the bat on the ball. When you do that, good things happen. And he's muscled a couple to the outfield and has gotten some big hits for the Giants. He got that sacrifice fly. But then in the 8th inning, and this is the guy I really want to highlight today, and we'll talk about him. Larry Krueger is going to be with us today. How about that? He's back. He's the Billy Martin of KNBR. They fire him, hire him, fire him, hire him. He's always coming back. And he's going to be on with us today. I love talking ball with Larry. He's the best. And KNBR is very lucky to have him back. He's going to do a ton of football coverage, but I twisted his arm a little bit. I know he went to the game last night to come on with us this morning, talk about his thoughts about the Giants. But the guy I want to talk about is Mark Canha, and I like him. He's 8 for 18 since the Giants picked him up from the Tigers at the trade deadline. But I want to tell you, he's got an attitude. He's got a face. He's got a game face. He cares. He has a face. He looks like he's in trouble. He wants to hurt you. I like that. They need that. They need a guy like that. He's from San Jose. He had goosebumps last night. He had 4 hits the other day. He's 8 for 18. But he has an attitude. He plays with an attitude. I love it. Play him. There's no question he should be hitting. What it does to Marco Luciano, he should probably be back at Sacramento and get his at-bats there. Don't let the kids sit on the bench. But Canha, I'm telling you, this is the DH, right-handed, and he should be playing more. He's a gamer, and I like it. He's played a lot in the postseason. Not great postseason numbers, but with the A's for years, with the Mets and Milwaukee, he has been in the postseason before. I like the way he plays. It was huge for me last night. He got the big hit in the 8th inning to start the comeback rally to tie it. Then Brett Wisely, he's another one. He's a grinder. He had a great bunt in the Washington series. He can lay a ball down, and he's a tough kid. And this is August. This is when the players show up. And I like Wisely. Strada's not going to be back for probably another few weeks with a sore wrist. And you can say what you want about Wisely. His batting lately is, he's not hitting the ball great. He's a gamer. He'll steal a base. He'll play. I like him. And I'm glad that he was in there last night. He got a big hit, 2-strike hit, and that moved Canha to third, and then Bailey, who's 11 for like 80, but he gets the sacrifice fly. He does put the bat on the ball, and he got it last night, and that tied it up. Then the Tigers kicked it away in the 9th inning, and finally Mark Canha got the sacrifice fly with the bases loaded, and the Giants walked it off 3-2. Good game for the Giants last night. Not easy to come off the road and play those games. It's not easy, I'm telling you. When you fly in and you've got all of a sudden you're, and from the humidity of Washington into the beauty of San Francisco, it's a real wake-up call. So we'll see how they do today. Logan Webb gets the ball today against this Tiger team that, as I said, and when you look at their OPS, they're 13th in the American League, and Seattle and the White Sox are behind them, and the White Sox are the worst team in probably 100 years. They're going to lose over 120 games and knock the Mets out of the record book. They're below the Tigers, and Seattle with a batting average of .215. They're below them too. So that tells you where the Tigers are offensively. 12th in batting average and 8th in runs scored. They don't hit that many home runs. Their pitching's not bad. Not bad at all, and A.J. Hinch has done a great job to get them in this position a few games under 500. He's a good manager. I like him. But Logan Webb gets the ball today. He had the good game against the A's. They pulled him out early in his last start after 5 1/3. But he's been terrific all year long. And the 2014 team is around today. It's so exciting to know that they're in the ballpark and these guys are here. And they get to see Logan Webb today pitch, and he could have fit on that team perfectly with Peavy and Hudson and those guys. And we'll talk about them, I'm sure, with Bruce Jenkins today and with Woe tomorrow morning. So the Giants, they get the walk-off win. Robbie Ray was good last night. Not great. He was all over the place, but he kept it together against this Tiger team. 6 innings, 5 hits, a couple of runs. They left him in for 105 pitches, which gets to the next issue is the bullpen. Camilo Doval just couldn't throw strikes, and it just wasn't happening for him, and it was not turning around. It was getting worse. So they optioned him to Sacramento, let him work on things down there, and Landon Roop came up and gave him 2 perfect innings last night, and Tyler Rogers finished it off, and the Giants win it 3-2. But the bullpen is going to be somewhat of an issue. Probably Ryan Walker will be the closer for the Giants, so we'll see where that goes for them. But Ray gave him 6 good innings last night, 105 pitches, and it's Logan Webb today, and then Birdsong tomorrow. So Birdsong and Harrison, those are the ones you got to kind of watch because they're young. It is August. It's a long season. They're near career highs in innings and all that kind of stuff, and Harrison has not been great lately, so we'll have to see what happens with him as we go further. But Giants are signing people right and left. In August you can't make trades, but you can pick up people on waivers, people released. And Spencer Howard is back in the minor leagues, the right-hander. The Giants had him earlier and then shipped him over to Cleveland. Didn't do well there. He's back. And they got another guy, Ryan Watson, from the Orioles, who's kicked around in their system for a while. So that's pitching depth at Sacramento, which leads me to believe that they have to be concerned a little bit about the depth of the pitching over these next 44 games. We'll talk about the wild card a little more. Let me do that just a little bit right now. The Giants are going to pick off these teams ahead of them. They're going to pick off Atlanta, and they're probably going to do that next week. The Mets are decent. They're going to hang around for a while. St. Louis is the one that worries me a little bit. The Giants are 2 back of the Mets in the 3rd spot. The Cardinals are a game and a half back, and Atlanta's a half a game back, and the Mets have that 3rd spot. So, as I say, the Giants are going to pick them off one by one. They've got these 2 coming up. They've got 4 with Atlanta, the right time. Then, of course, after that, you've got the A's for a couple. Then the White Sox, believe it or not, for 3 here. And then it gets a little dicier after that. But I think after that White Sox series, I could be wrong, but I think the Giants are going to be in that 3rd spot by the end of that series. And they just have to pick these teams off one by one. The Dodgers are 2.5 up on San Diego, 3.5 on Arizona. 2 very exciting wins for San Diego and Arizona last night. Ohtani hit his 35th. Jack Flaherty struck out 10 and got him into the 6th inning. And the Dodgers beat the Pirates. They're going to kiss them goodbye, along probably with the Cubs in Cincinnati. So this is what happens in August, and it's great. It's good. It's good to be back, and I'm glad to be able to talk baseball with you today. Got a good show. Evan Webeck is next. He covers the Giants for the Merc, and we'll talk with Ev about what he thinks about this ball club. Giants win at 3-2 last night, and we've got Game 2 coming up today. All right, more coming up right after this. I'm back on the Sports Leader.
Talking baseball with Marty Lurie on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the Sports Leader.
Experience the epitome of luxury and craftsmanship with Inicio Windows and Doors, another exciting product line from BMD Manufacturing. Inicio Windows and Doors sets the standard in ultra-premium European design. Wow. For the most demanding American building standards. Available both in steel and aluminum, they are meticulously engineered to elevate your living space to new heights of sophistication. Learn more about Inicio Windows and Doors today. Discover the perfect blend of European beauty and style with unwavering durability and strength. Visit InicioWindows.com. INICIO Windows.com. Inicio Windows and Doors, where European design meets American craftsmanship. Vans Bridge Bank delivers their clients full relationship banking, including treasury management solutions and global market services. Bridge Bank offers financing solutions to businesses for their working capital, equipment, and real estate needs. This is very important in today's world. Fred Voss is the Senior Managing Director of Bridge Bank's commercial lending efforts in Northern California. He has commercial banking teams in San Jose with Jesse Garcia, San Francisco, Oakland, Cheeto Cordova, and in Pleasanton. Bridge Bank, it's like banking at home. I can't say enough about it.
Mark Canha waiting. The pitch. He hits one to left and deep. Going back to make the catch, McKinstry. Tagging from third, Conforto. He comes home and scores the winning run. And the Giants get their 10th walk-off of the year. They beat the Tigers 3-2. Mark Canha with the sacrifice fly to get it done.
Prepping you for today's orange and black ball game, we now take you back to Talkin' Baseball with Marty Laurie on KNBR, the sports leader.
Hey, I thought he hit it out. I thought it was a slam went off the bat. And, of course, it was all he needed was the sacrifice fly, and he got it done. That was Mark Canha. He's got the face. I like it. They need a guy like this, and Mark Canha could be the key to this thing down the stretch. Evan Webeck joins us. He covers the Giants for the Merc. Ev, how are you?
Hey, Marty, doing great. I think you're totally right about Canha, man. I mean, do they win the past 2 games without him? They went out and got him for, it seemed like a pretty minor upgrade at the trade deadline, but it's been pretty significant so far. And, what a great story, too, for him playing his first game in a Giants uniform at Oracle Park, a Bellarmine prep guy, a Cal guy who grew up here going to games. So, it's pretty good vibes right now in the clubhouse.
Yeah, he's got the face. He's got the game face. He's had a lot of experience in the postseason. And what does this do to Marco Luciano, though? Here he is again, sort of, getting squeezed out.
Yeah, and not just for Mark Canha, but Gerard Encarnacion, too. I think it just speaks to the urgency that, Bob Melvin is managing with. And, I think there are some parallels with what we saw with Camilo Doval getting demoted to AAA, too, in that, they just can't wait around for, guys to either develop or correct things when, it's such a touch-and-go situation in the wild card race. And, every game matters. And, I mean, you look last night, if they don't win last night, there are 3 other teams in front of them that they would have lost ground on. Sure, they make up ground on the Braves and the Mets with the win, but, you've got the Padres and the Diamondbacks streaking, and and the Cardinals are playing well, too. So, they don't have time to wait around. And, we asked, Bob Melvin was asked yesterday about, could we maybe see Marco Luciano get on the dirt a little bit more just to get him in the lineup and, continue his development? And he basically shot that option down, saying they're pretty comfortable with what they got in the middle infield. And on top of that, it might be tough to reintegrate Marco, given that he's been sitting and not playing the infield now for so long, having, kind of initially been in that DH role. And, the thought that goes through my mind is, well, he could have been playing the infield this entire time at AAA and been getting even more at-bats and, been contributing just as much to the Major League club as he is right now. But, they're making a playoff push, and right now the time for development is not now.
What do you think of Robbie Ray last night? 106 pitches for him. They stayed with him. Is that because of the bullpen issue with Doval? Why did that happen last night?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was pretty clear that Robbie didn't have his best stuff, and he was battling, trying to find the strike zone. Even as the velocity was a little bit lower than what we got used to over the last couple starts. He was averaging about 94.8, I believe, and didn't record a single 95 last night. But he basically chalked that up to still getting used to the mound at Oracle Park, and he has a little bit more of a slope than what he was used to. Got only pitched on in Cincinnati, which is actually kind of the opposite issue that Kyle Harrison ran into. He was complaining about the mound in Cincinnati being too low, so just different slopes and all that. But yeah, I think it was impressive to see Ray kind of get through 6 there. He battled traffic on the bases just about every inning, yeah, I mean, it was a big milestone for him just to get through 6 and go to and cross that 100 pitch threshold. Both of those for the first time, since Tommy John. And the training staff went out there to check up on him with 2 outs in the 5th, and he told them he was feeling fine. It was he just slipped on the mound a little bit and basically waved them off, and afterwards said he was feeling great physically, no fatigue. So I don't think there was any reason to pull him from that game, although with the uncertainty in the bullpen, certainly, it only benefits from that.
I thought they were going to get no hit last night. They're coming off. They're coming off. Seriously, they're coming off the road, and it was a long flight home, and a crazy series in Washington with the weather. And Detroit, they can't hit, they cannot hit. They just don't, and they're going to try to steal bases. And if Bailey's in there today, that's not going to happen. But I thought the Giants were in trouble until Fitzgerald got the hit up the middle. And, Ev, my point to you is this Fitzgerald, I can't say enough about him. We had him on the show a million times, and he just needed that chance, and he got the hit to get it going last night.
Yeah, and just a little number, too. 83 miles an hour off the end of the bat, just snuck it up the middle. And, Elliot Ramos follows with an even softer hit, just sneaking it through the right side. And that's all it takes to get it going. Kind of lifts the weight off their shoulders. I think the consensus was that, maybe there was a little bit of low energy in the dugout to start the game last night. And, if you're coming off a cross-country flight, a 5.5-hour game, a couple rain delays, I think it's to be understood. And it was an even closer call than it ends up being, too. They with that storm coming into D.C., we were told that they got off the ground basically, with 2 minutes to spare before all flights were grounded for the night. So, they end up getting into San Francisco at, around 11 o'clock or midnight last night, and it very well could have been the next morning entirely. So they're kind of riding the momentum of playing well. And maybe a little bit bleary-eyed too, but they should a quick turnaround today. But maybe they see some members of the 2014 championship team and get a little bit extra motivation.
Yeah, they went out and got Spencer Howard back. I saw that, and they picked up Ryan Watson, 2 minor leaguers. But it tells me they are concerned a little bit about Harrison and Birdsong, and they want to get some depth. Do you see it that way too?
Yeah, we'll see what factor those guys playing down the stretch. I don't think either one is going to be the first or second or third option in terms of taking down innings in a playoff push. Not what you're trying to do. Picking up guys not even on 40-man rosters. And they've got a little bit more depth down at AAA too. But I do think there is some concern with guys bumping up against innings limits, and that's kind of the idea here with the top 3 at the top of the rotation and in Webb and Ray and Snell to pick up the slack a little bit, and then for the bullpen to maybe be a little bit more well rested on those days when you've got Harrison or Birdsong on the mound who maybe aren't going to be able to go as deep into these games. And Bob has talked about the possibility of maybe even piggybacking with a guy like Jordan Hicks down in the bullpen. It seems like his usage is pretty flexible right now. We saw him getting warm a couple nights ago when Camilo ran into trouble in the 9th. We've seen him, go in multiple inning bursts. But I think they're gonna be, kind of using and taking advantage of the way that he's been stretched out to cover some of those innings.
Ev, what about Camilo Doval? What happens with him? What does he have to do at Sacramento? Do they rush him back up? Does Walker become the closer? What do you do with Hicks? How does Bob Melvin deal with all this stuff?
Yeah, well, I think the leash just kind of ran out on Camilo, and basically he needs to throw strikes, right? The slider has been a little bit less effective. The cutter has been not as well located this season. My colleague Justice De Los Santos here at the Merc did a great little deep dive on some of the underlying reasons why Camilo might not be the same Camilo this season, and he found that even his release point and his extension is a little bit shorter this season. So he's releasing the ball further away from the plate, which is actually something that I'd kind of seen earlier this season. I wasn't sure if I was just seeing things or anything, but the data backs it up that he is just a little bit more, maybe a little bit stiffer and upright in his delivery, and obviously he's always had issues with the pitch clock and runners on base, and it's not unique to him as a strikeout swing and miss reliever, right? A lot of these dominant closers, if a guy gets on base, they just think they're going to strike the next guy out, and that's certainly been Camilo's philosophy. But when you're putting 2 guys on and not finding the strike zone, you don't have as much wiggle room to work with, and the leash just ran out on him. And Bob said he hopes it's the minimum 15 days. Their best team and their ideal team has Camilo as a closer, and he's still only 27 years old under team control. They obviously want to see him turn this around and get back into the closer's role. But I think part of the reason why the move was made is because there's no shortage of options out there. They went with Ryan Walker when they have guys, like Jordan Hicks, like you talked about, his closing experience. Taylor Rogers' his closing experience. Tyler Rogers is the only other guy on the team with a save this season, and they, basically said they wanted to go with Walker because they didn't want to shake up the roles down there. Keep Rogers in the 8th inning. Keep Hicks a little bit flexible, and leave the lefties as they are. But I think in a lot of scenarios, when you see a closer struggling like this and it's time for a demotion, it's not usually a demotion to the minor leagues. It's a demotion just out of the closer's role into maybe a lower leverage inning or a down game or something like that. And the Camilo's situation is a little unique because most closers don't have options and the availability to use them. But with Camilo, he is so single-minded in him being a closer and pitching in the 9th inning and save situations that I just don't think Bob Melvin felt it was a feasible option to have him go correct these issues while pitching in a non-save situation when these games matter so much. Camilo has talked to us about how if it's not a save situation, it's hard for him to get amped up for it. It's hard for him to he's explained some of the struggles in these non-save situations by saying that guys are able to just wait around on me, and he doesn't like to he likes to start his pitches, lots of movement, start his pitches in the strike zone, but they often finish outside the strike zone. So if guys are waiting around and not swinging and feel like they could be patient with him, that's kind of where some of the struggles have started, or at least that's the explanation he's given. So when if he's not able to pitch in the 9th, then he's not able to pitch in any other situation. That's kind of necessitates the move to AAA.
Well, you've watched the club all year. You and I are together in spring training for 6 weeks, watching the ball club with Soler and Chapman and all the new people coming in. How do you assess them right now? And let's look at baseball. Let's look at the National League. Let's look at this wild card race. Let's look at even the race with the Dodgers. How do you feel about it with 44 to go?
I think this is probably the team that they envisioned coming out of spring training. Maybe the pieces look a little bit different. Guys like Elliot Ramos and Tyler Fitzgerald kind of leading the way at the top of the lineup, but they were pretty much waiting around for these reinforcements to come at mid-season. And, it's not Alex Cobb, but it is second half Blake Snell to go along with Robbie Ray. And, to me, I've been saying all season that this I've covered the team for 3 years, and this roster just on paper has, looks substantially deeper. The lineup's longer. There's more pedigree to the rotation. They seem to be better than their record, and obviously there's all sorts of things that went wrong that contributed to that, with injuries and underperformance. But we saw the offense kind of come around and play up to its potential on the road trip here. But we've also seen how kind of touchy and inconsistent it can be coming back home and getting no hit for 6 innings. And I think that's kind of going to be the reality of the team going forward. They're going to have to ride their starting pitching. And just kind of hope that, the young guys hold up and the bullpen that they rode so hard in the first half can hold up to maybe the lesser load that they're asking for it down the stretch here. I'll tell you what, I'm a lot more optimistic about their chances right now than I was 2 weeks ago, and I'm sure a lot of other people feel that way too. They have made up, a couple games here in the wild card, and I guess we're going to have to see where they sit after this series against the Braves, right? That's going to be pretty crucial to their season. If they can, take advantage of a team that's kind of in free fall and maybe even overtake them, that momentum into the final month of the season will, I think that could be big. But, they had big games like this last season too, and 2 years ago, and we've seen, they kind of fell off. But here they seem to be hitting their stride, and I think this is the team that they envisioned with the starting pitching and just enough hitting to carry the way.
Well, you got to do it now, and as I said in my open, after the White Sox series, I think they're going to be in that third spot at that point. They've got to take care of the A's, and the A's are not simple in Oakland, believe me. Giants have struggled for years going to Oakland. Oakland hits the ball well there. But to me, September is really tough. They've got 12 games left in the West. That's it. None with Colorado and none with the Dodgers. They've got 6 with San Diego and 6 with Arizona, all in September. Kansas City is in there, Milwaukee. There's some tough games in September. So in my opinion, they got to get it done now, and you can't lose these games that you're supposed to win. And last night was a good example of it.
Yeah, that's entirely right, Marty. It was the same deal with that last game in Washington too. These are games that you have to win. Every game matters, and it may not be pretty all the time, but these are games that they are winning. And maybe the first 6 innings doesn't inspire confidence, but the last 3, that's what a good team does. They get going and they come back and they overcome and come back. And it's 12 wins when they're trailing or tied after the 8th inning. So that's pretty good.
How about 10 walk-off wins? I think it's first in baseball. Dave Fleming said it last night. I think it's first in baseball. And I'll leave you with this, and that is Elliot Ramos. I know the thumb is banged up, but, boy, does he have an ability to just poke that ball through the right side when they need it?
Yeah, man. This season looks a lot different if Elliot doesn't take this next step, and it's been a little bit tough physically on him, but he's battled through, and man, that probably didn't feel great. It wasn't a jam shot, but it was off the end of the bat, and that's rattling up the wood there, and he said that that thumb it bothers him when he gets jammed, and in Cincinnati he said he didn't even want to hit the ball before he came out of the game. So he's dealing with stuff, but everybody is dealing with stuff at this time of year, and it's just a matter of who's able to push through, and he's as they call them, the dog days, right, Marty? And you're at the end of the season and battle through your ailments, and those are the guys who make the playoffs and make the push through October. So we'll see if he's able to do it.
Yeah, it's a good time, Ev. Thanks for taking the time. Love having you on, and we'll catch up with you again. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it, Marty. Anytime.
Very good. He's good. Evan Webeck, he covers the Giants for the Merc. More coming up. He's back. He's the Billy Martin of KNBR, Sports Larry, Twitter, and that is Larry Kruger. Coming up next right here in the Sports Leader.
Talking baseball with Marty Lurie on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the Sports Leader.
Hey fans, Gene Bagato checked in from Bodega Bay, and he said that in addition to the usual goings-on at the Tides Wharf, the big news is across Highway 1 at the Inn. After a 4-year hiatus, the ever-popular Bayview Dining Room has reopened, serving guests Thursday through Sunday evenings beginning at 6 o'clock. Now listen to this. Chef Remy Madrid, formerly of the San Francisco Yacht Club in Tiburon, has joined the Tide staff and has created a fantastic menu offering a wide array of dishes ranging from the classic coq au vin and seared salmon to the signature dish of the house, the filet mignon Hitchcock, a 6-ounce filet topped with Dungeness crab meat. Wow. Reservations are highly recommended, so if you're looking for a getaway that offers great beaches, scenic views, and gourmet food selections, this is it. You need look no further than the Tides Wharf and the Inn at the Tides in beautiful Bodega Bay. Fans, when I came up for Fan Fest, I had a great time, and the reason why, I stayed at the most unique hotel in San Francisco, and that is the Hotel Via, located directly across the street from Oracle Park. It's just a walk from the Via Hotel right into the ballpark. I loved it. It's family owned and operated. It was the first hotel built in the fastest growing area of San Francisco. And of course, we're talking about Mission Bay in the South Beach neighborhood. It's got premier private event space. The rooftop at the Via Hotel is a great place to have a meeting, an event, and just a beautiful view of the ballpark in downtown San Francisco. It's at the intersection of sports, entertainment, and technology. For more information, visit hotelviasf.com or call 415-200-4977. Or you can email them at info@hotelviasf.com. Staying at the Hotel Via is an experience you don't want to miss.
Orange and Black family, the godfather of Giants baseball now continues. This is Talkin' Baseball with Marty Laurie on KNBR, the sports leader.
All right, great to have you back with us as we're streaming live here as we get ready for Giants baseball today. It's Giants and Tigers in Game 2 of this 3-game series as we try to get our good friend Larry Krueger on the line as he's probably getting ready for some football action today, so Raf will do that. But while we wait for Larry, just to take a look at what we talked about earlier with Evan Webeck, what's going on in baseball. In this National League West, the Dodgers win it last night, 67-49 now. They beat the Pirates. Ohtani had a big home run last night, his 35th. He only trails Aaron Judge now in homers. Judge has 41, believe it or not. They're starting to walk Aaron Judge with no one on base. They're starting to do that. That's how much respect he's getting. But San Diego is the team. They have got like 29 come-from-behind wins so far. The Giants have 6 left with San Diego, 6 left with Arizona in September. Come on, these are going to be outstanding games, and this is where the Giants' pitching rotation comes in. This is when it's going to be, there for them with Snell and Logan Webb and Robbie Ray, and hopefully Harrison and Birdsong will still be pitching then. But this September race is going to be something. So the Dodgers are only up 2.5 on San Diego. And Bruce Jenkins and I love to touch on this Jackson Merrill. He's 21 years or younger, and he's got 4 home runs in the 9th inning, which have either tied the game or put his team ahead. And the last person to do that was Mel Ott, believe it or not, OTT, who was his number is retired up there with the Giants. And Mel Ott was a fabulous young player with the Giants in the 20s years ago. Giants had some history. They really did, the New York Giants. But Mel Ott ended up with 11 home runs. He's out there on the wall in right field. And there was Babe Ruth with 714 and Mel Ott with 511. That was it for a long time. And Jackson Merrill has tied Ott for doing that. The other one for the Pirates, Joey Bart. Joey Bart, believe it or not, hit his 10th home run last night. And he's playing all the time for the Pirates, pretty much. And they DH'd him last night, and he's got an OPS in the high 800s now. And I'm glad for him. Very glad for him that he's made that happen. Arizona last night wins in a walk-off against the Phillies last night. Now, the Padres end up coming back and beating the Marlins. The Marlins just a shell of themselves. They traded all their relievers, so they don't have much to close the game out at the end. But for Arizona, they beat the Phillies last night. This Ryan Nelson pitched great for Arizona. He threw like 60 pitches and like 11 balls, something like that, or even better than that. And then they got a walk-off. Gabriel Moreno, their catcher, ended up with an adductor strain, so that's going to be a few weeks for him, and he was starting to hit the ball really well. Arizona's playing really well. And again, Giants 6 more with Arizona, too. But they got a walk-off from a kid, Adrian Del Castillo. And he hit the ball great in Reno, had over 20 homers at Reno, and his first major league home run last night off of Jeff Hoffman for the Phillies. How about that? And it was a walk-off for Arizona, and they won the game 3-2. So that was the West. So they're 3.5 back of the Dodgers. San Diego is 2.5 back, and the Giants are 8 back. But it's this loss column that I've talked about for so many weeks with you. San Diego, 52 losses. Arizona, 53. The Mets, 55. And the Mets are really shaky when you look at their rotation of David Peterson and Sean Manaea pitches today for them. His last two have been terrific, but that's their guy. And then, you end up with, as I say, Quintana in there. And the Mets have, really got some rotation issues to say whether that rotation is going to hold up down the stretch. Atlanta with 55 losses, and it's St. Louis with 57. Katie Wu is going to join us today about 10:45 to talk about the Cardinals. This Victor Scott, this young kid I saw in the Fall League last year, he's a jet. I mean, the guy can fly. And they've changed his stance now. The Ciani is on the DL, their center fielder, and this kid has come up and he hit a big home run the other day. But the Cardinals made some trades. They did bring in Tommy Pham, and they brought in Eric Fetty. And they still have Sonny Gray and Gibson and those people. Michaelis not going great. But the Cardinals are the team that worries me a little bit. They've got 57 losses, and the Giants have 58 losses. So that's what we have going on there. The Cubs with 60 losses. The Cubs are starting to win a little bit more. The Italian got a win last night. Their bullpen is still very shaky. They did hang on with the Chicago White Sox, who, my God, when you think about it, they're going to lose more than 120 games. They fired their manager, Pedro Grifol, yesterday. Grady Sizemore is now the manager of the White Sox, and he was a $15 an hour intern getting into baseball years ago after his playing career. So he's now the manager of the White Sox. The White Sox do come in and play the Giants, which is going to be something. Giants have got to win all three there. John Brebbia, we'll get to see him in the beard when the White Sox come in. So the Cubs have 60 losses. Pittsburgh with 59, but boy, their bullpen has fallen apart. There's Paul Skeens pitches today for Pittsburgh against River Ryan for the Dodgers. Who thought you'd see that matchup when the season started? So Skeens goes for the Pirates tonight against River Ryans down in L.A. And Cincinnati, the Giants took their heart out, I think, last weekend with the no-hitter. David Bell does the best he can to make things happen, but not enough for him. Cincinnati with 60 losses. Their bullpen is a problem. They don't score enough runs. They have the most exciting player in the league in Ellie Dela Cruz, but Cincinnati's pitching and bullpen and everything else, and mainly their hitting. They just don't hit enough, and they've got 60 losses now. So, as I said, what happens after an all-star break, teams start to disappear, and especially when you get into this time, and I'd say Pittsburgh and Cincinnati probably in that situation. The big story, I think, is Atlanta. This is a team with Brian Snitker, the manager, and they're always in the playoff. They're always winning a division. They're always very dangerous. But, boy, they have just come apart, and losing Spencer Strider for the year, losing Acuna for the year. Ozzie Albies is out. Murphy not having a big year. Matt Olson, he's still got that consecutive streak going, which is great that he plays every day, but not the big year for him. But they're pitching, really, with Morton. Schellenbach pitches for them today, which means the Giants do not get him. If I add it up right, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, well, I guess they could get him Thursday if they do that. But he pitches today for Atlanta, and he's the best thing they have going. Max Fried is involved with them as well. I think he's in the rotation for tomorrow, and he's not pitching well. So the Braves have really been struggling really been struggling. So that's the big one. So I think it's just a question of the Giants. They got a good part of the schedule now. They've won 12 of 16, 11 of 14, 3 straight. They got 3 sacrifice flies last night. And as Evan Webeck says, they're doing enough offensively. The offense is not great. It's not. And Lamont Wade is one I'm worried about. What's happened with Lamont? Late night Lamont, everyday Lamont, whatever you want to call him. But, as a leadoff hitter, he's not getting on. And that on-base percentage, which was the best in baseball, is now close to being under 400 if it's not there already. That's been a strange one for me to see what's happened with him. But we'll talk more about Tyler Fitzgerald and other things that are happening in baseball. More coming up. Larry Krueger, we love you. We just can't find you right now. So we'll try to connect with him and see what's cooking with him. But Bruce Jenkins next, right here on the Sports Leader. It's been a pleasure working with Rick Robin this year. Rick Robin, ROBBEN, NapaConstruction.com. Rick, the last time you were on with us, you told us about kitchen and bath remodeling, but there's a lot more going on up in your area.
Yes, there is. ADUs, auxiliary dwelling units, which are known as dwelling units. We can do your existing garage, attached garage, even building a new unit in the back. And so what we do is come out, bring our architect out there. Such a great thing. No sewer hookup fees, no water hookup fees. So that's what we do.
Rick, how does one start the process with you? How does one get in touch with you?
Oh, you call Tammy, 707-332-7575, 7 days a week.
Rick Robin, ConstructionNapa.com. Rick, the thing I like about this, no problem for me. You come out with the plans, the permits, everything is in-house, no fees, and you get a new unit that you can rent out and get money back on your investment right away. I like it, Rick.
Thanks, Marty. Love talking to you.
Rick Robin, ConstructionNapa.com. Fans, nothing better than spending an afternoon at the Priest Ranch Wine Tasting Room in Yountville. You can relax as you enjoy a selection of limited production estate wines paired with local artisanal cheese and charcuterie. Your host will guide you through each unique pairing while sharing the incredible story of Priest Ranch. Now, while you're there, you must try the food at our new restaurant, The Kitchen at Priest Ranch. It's right next door to the Priest Ranch Tasting Room and serves amazing, fast, casual food. That's an afternoon.
Look through the window of the original Joe's on North Beach and you'll see two guys at the counter talking ball. Time for you to listen in to their conversation. Marty Laurie and the SF Chronicles' Bruce Jenkins are looking through the window of baseball. Sponsored by Original Joe's of North Beach and Westlake on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
All right, great to have you back with us. Heard from FP as he's driving up to Sacramento, and I hope he's enjoying the show this morning. And we've got a lot of good things happening today. Logan Webb on the hill for the Giants. Looks like another bullpen game for the Tigers today. I guess it's going to be a lefty starting for the Tigers today because the lineup for the Giants is out, and the leadoff hitter is Fitzgerald, then Ramos, then Conforto, then Chapman, then Bailey, then Mark Canha, then Yastrzemski, Encarnacion, and Brett Wisely playing second base today behind Logan Webb. So I assume the Tigers are throwing a lefty with that lineup out there for the Giants today. Bruce Jenkins joins us. Bruce, how are you?
Good, Marty. What's going on?
Well, I'm back from Alaska. That's going on. I'm glad to be back.
Nice and relaxed. It sound like it was pretty interesting up there.
You know, it's funny. It is. We got to see some interesting parts of the country and a lot of baseball fans on the ship, the Crystal, cruise line. Yeah, really. But it was interesting, and so many baseball fans on the ship to talk about it. But the highlight for me was being on top of the glacier.
Oh my gosh!
And look, I'm from Arizona. I'm from Miami Beach, and I'm not used to this. And I had my baseballism sweatshirt on and another one, and a shirt under that. And that's it. And, they leave you up there, but you go by helicopter, and they leave you up there, and they leave. And it's like you stand there like a penguin, and it's freezing. It's just absolutely freezing.
Trying to get a mental picture of this.
Yeah, seriously. And you're on the glacier, and, you can't walk very far, and they give you poles to help you walk. It's kind of funny. And I'm freezing, and then the helicopters leave and take other people back, and then they come back again, and you can hear them, and it's like the opening of MASH. When you hear the helicopters come. I mean, I couldn't wait to see them, and finally get back. But that was kind of the highlight of it. It really is something to stand on something like that. That's thousands of years old. So that was the best part. But I got to follow baseball. Baseball does such a good job with the streaming and everything else that you can follow it, even if you're not around.
Yeah, well, I knew you'd be keeping close tabs, and it's, as always, a really interesting week. But you're back just in time for the best part.
Yeah, well, I missed the Snell no-hitter. And that must have been pretty spectacular. I haven't had a chance to talk to you about it. So your thoughts about that one? It was almost like Nolan Ryan-like or something.
Yeah. I mean, it was unbelievable. His stuff is so great, Marty. I mean, you could easily make an argument for him as the best. He's the best pitcher in baseball. When he's throwing like that, there's nobody better. And I remember we talked. I did not want them to trade Snell, even though it made some sense from the standpoint of, he can opt out. Maybe he's gone. We can get a nice package for him. But to me, if you're going to rely on pitching down the stretch, and they certainly are with their rotation, you can't trade the best pitcher in baseball. I don't care what the consequences are next year. You can't do it, and he really justified, their faith in that he's going to be the Blake Snell who won 2 Cy Youngs. He was good the last time out also. So I'm glad he's still around.
Yeah, you're right. I thought if he's going to opt out, trade him, and maybe you could retool some of the outfield and things like that. But he is that significant, and he's locked in. and he's playing for a contract now, which is further motivation for him. So that was pretty good. I thought the addition of Mark Canha, I talked about it earlier today. Bruce, I like the way he's 35 years old. We've seen him in the Bay Area with the A's for years. I'm sure Bob Melvin, knows what he can do, but he's got a game face. He's a player. And they, as Bill King says, sometimes you need some people, I hate to use the phrase, but not nice. You know what I mean? And he's got that look. When he's at the plate. I like Mark Canha, what he brings to the table. I think it's important.
Oh, yeah. He came in just delighted, talking about how he's always dreamed about playing, for the Giants. Growing Cal guy and loved the Giants when he was a kid, and just this is where he wants to be. And next thing you know, he gets a huge hit in Washington, and then bingo last night, another one. And they're swarming all around him, and they gave up a pretty good prospect, a pitcher Eric Silva, to get him. But people didn't think much of it really. But all of a sudden, he's like invaluable, and he's a real good guy. And you're right, he's definitely a gamer.
Yeah, he's got the face, and it was nice to see him, get the walk off, and he got to smile a little bit. But boy, when he's at the plate, I like it. I like the way he looks, and they need it. The other one I want to talk about with you, Bruce, is Tyler Fitzgerald. And, I was looking at the numbers. He's played in 54 games, and I'm going to make a comparison. It's not crazy, but I'm not saying he's Willie McCovey. But if you look at what Willie McCovey did in 1959 as the Rookie of the Year coming up at the end of July, he was Rookie of the Year in 2 months. And he almost won a pennant for the Giants. He had 13 homers, 38 RBIs, hit 354. Fitzgerald, in a similar amount of games right now, has 12 homers, 24 RBIs, and he's hitting 312. And he's got all the stolen bases, and he's given that team, he's lifted the team like McCovey did.
It's very much like that. Obviously, they couldn't be more different as ball players, but he's not only doing that, he can run like the wind. He can help you on the bases. He's definitely not a defensive liability by any means. I'll tell you, my favorite Fitzgerald at bat and through this whole thing was last night in the 7th inning. They don't have any hits. They're down 2-0, and he very purposely drills a single up the middle with 2 strikes, and that started the rally that they had to have. And Canha did the same thing. When they tied it in the 8th, he leads off and he hits an off-field single. That's just smart hitting. But the power it's no fluke. The guy's power is astounding, and as long as he continues hitting the right way in situations and not just trying to yank everything on a launch angle, into the restaurant out there above the second deck, on the road. I mean, he's such an asset, and he's obviously a really nice guy. All the players love him. They all say he's their favorite player, and amazing development there.
Well, and we've had him on a number of times, and I've enjoyed talking with him as, trying to, pump him up a little bit and get your chance and all that. But I think he's a perfect leadoff hitter. In fact, I tweeted out last night, it was the old no-hitter in the 7th inning. You're down 2-0. And I said, lay down a bunt. Use your speed to get on, and he didn't have to do that. He hit the ball up the middle, but that was a big hit last night.
Yeah, and Wisely does that too. He's a real good bunter, and if he sees the third baseman back, he goes, "I'll just take this hit right now." It's especially valuable leading off an inning, or you're down a run and you need it really bad. But I just think Fitzgerald is too smart to think that he is McCovey, and in the meantime, what's not to like?
No, nothing. And he's playing good short. And he can steal a base, and this is just the beginning with him. And, if he gets a pitch down the middle, he seems to just crush it. And I assume someone's going to start throwing him sliders away and, see if he can adjust to that. But right now, I think he's carrying the team, so I like that. And the other one is Conforto, and he doesn't quite have the drive that other players have. He's a nice guy. But, Bruce, he puts the bat on the ball, and by doing that, he's not striking out, and he's got enough as a hitter to get the ball in play, and he got some big hits against Washington.
Yeah, it seems like every game he'll do at least one at bat where he really drills one. He's had some big hits. I don't think he probably won't even be here next year, but he's a guy who's had a lot of success and a lot of downtime, but he's making the most of it right now. He's not a 300 hitter by any means, but you can't argue with some of the at bats he's had. They've been huge.
No, absolutely. He very big part. And the other one is, I love talking about this because we're at that stage of this. There's 44 to go, and they're making their move at the right time. And as I said, they're going to pick off these teams one by one. Is Ramos? He's got a bad thumb, but boy, he has that ability to knock the ball through the right side, and he got a couple of big hits last night.
Yeah, I tell you can't underestimate the handicap for a hitter if there's anything wrong with your hands. It's very, very troublesome, and he's got this issue that it's very public. It's out there. It doesn't seem like it's going to go away as long as he keeps playing, but he doesn't want to come out. And in the meantime, he's not embarrassing himself. I mean, by any means, he's still playing great. So that's going to be a tough slog for him for over 44 games, unless somehow he can get a little bit of a rest and maybe the thing starts feeling better. But the thumb injury that's a tough one. But he's a gamer.
Yeah, and that's what they're becoming. They're becoming that kind of team. Mm-hmm. Look, they're beating the teams they're supposed to beat, but you got to score early. As I say, we've talked about this, you and I, for so many years, when you're playing teams that you should beat, you want to score runs early to knock them out early.
Yeah.
So they start thinking about their golf game instead of coming back to beat you. You can't keep, coming back from behind late in the game because there are bullpens that can stop you. So for me, I'd like to see the Giants jump early and start knocking these teams out early.
Yeah, and, San Diego and Arizona have both gotten big boosts out of their bullpen, with Tanner Scott coming on and
Adams, how about him?
Yeah, Adams, and of course both of those teams they're never going to lose again apparently. But and the Giants they're having a little bit of a tough go there. But I mean, Doval sent down. How about that? Geez, it's not too surprising because he's been so disappointing in just the whole attitude thing and needing a talking to and maturity and all this stuff. And I don't know what he's going to be like when he comes back. I'm sure he's not delighted to be down there. But I'm just saying the bullpen's been a big edge for the Giants, and these contending teams and the Dodgers with Kopech are picking it up. So the Giants need to stay level there.
Yeah, I thought that Roop did well last night. He's got that.
Absolutely.
He's got the breaking ball until if he doesn't go around the league 3 times, the first time you see him, it's trouble. But you only need him for an inning or two, and I think he's effective. I like him.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he blew guys away in spring. Of course, at that point, you see a great pitch, and, well, I've never seen that before. You haven't seen anything in months. But they were raving about his breaking pitch. He had to go down. He had a little arm issue. But last night, man, that curveball was really sharp. I mean, if it's going to be that good, even if you're familiar with him, it's still going to be a tough pitch to hit. So for him in the middle innings, huge plus.
Boy, let's talk a little bit of, I think the Giants are in a good position. Let's put it that way. And I want to touch on Atlanta with you today. They've lost 6 straight, and they're coming in next week for 4. And the Giants really have a chance to put them away. And, this is not the Atlanta team that we're used to.
Oh, man, not at all. I mean, the pitching is really in shambles. I mean, I think somebody went on the when the IL just recently for them, and Max Fried came back from being there and didn't look good at all. It's all about Spencer Schwellenbach.
And that's it.
And that's it. And they did get a little pickup from Soler, who hit a big hit last night. He hit a home run that tied the game, but they still wound up losing to Colorado. But they're just Ronaldo Lopez. I'm seeing is out with a forearm injury. Right. Strider is done anyway. But you imagine them coming in here and the Giants catching up with them. I mean, the bad news for the Giants in the wild card is that 2 of the 3 teams who have it right now are San Diego and Arizona.
Yep. Yeah.
But the good news is the Giants are only 2 games out of that 3rd spot. So it just gets crazier as you go. And to think that Atlanta is suddenly in that mix is nobody could have seen that coming, before everybody on the team got hurt.
Yeah, the injuries are significant. Just fooling around with this thing. I know Baseball Reference does it all the time. They say what the playoff structure would be if the playoffs started today. And, if the Giants came in 6th, which is not impossible, maybe they don't catch San Diego and Arizona, maybe not. The Dodgers could come in 3rd in this thing between the Phillies and Milwaukee. You know that.
Yeah.
And the Giants could be playing the Dodgers in the first round. That's not impossible.
The Dodgers are up by 2.5. That's their lead.
Yeah.
Over San Diego, 3.5 Arizona. The Giants are 8 games back there, so they're not looking to win the division, but they sure as hell can screw up the Dodgers. They can mess with a lot of people. And the Giants have a lot of belief right now, so that's a very big thing. Like you say, they're not talking about the first tee at Riviera.
No, really, this could really be crazy the way it ends up. So we'll see. But how about Joey Bart? Did you notice
goodness.
Hit his 10th homer of the season last night?
Yeah, he's been playing for them regularly. He's up to 267. He's got 4 homers in his last 8 games. He had a huge homer off Jack Flaherty last night, who is coming back home to pitch for the Dodgers. But he's hit 4 homers in his last 8 games, and he's a stud. He looks very much for real up there. He'll still strike out on the low and away, but boy, you put one in his zone, he's not missing.
No, he's got 10 home runs, and he's got an OPS that's close to 900, and on a team that doesn't score many runs. And so good for him. Good for him. I'm glad that.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I'm good for him. Did you see that baseball's going to have a game at the Bristol Raceway in Tennessee next year? Did you see that?
Yeah,
Braves and the Reds, I think.
I didn't pay a whole lot of attention, but I did want to see a graphic of how the baseball field would fit, and it looks pretty good. I mean, it's better than the L.A. Coliseum, where it was like 250 down the line and 100,000 feet to right center. I mean, it's pretty symmetrical. I think it's it's hard to tell what the dimensions are, but it looks like a real baseball field. That has the potential of being really fun.
Well, it's a big deal. That baseball is, of course, trying to get into the market, the NASCAR market, and
Sure.
they want to be able to feed off that. But this raceway, it's one of the oldest, and I've never been there, and I don't think I've ever seen a race on TV from there. It holds 140,000 people.
Oh my God! Talk about the L.A. Coliseum held 100. You thought that was big? Good Lord!
Yeah. So who knows what it's going to look like next year? But I thought that was interesting. So Bristol, Tennessee, that's where that's going to be next year. Down here, Arizona, boy, they had 37,000, I think, last night. And they had a kid got his first major league home run last night, Adrian Del Castillo. And they beat the Phillies, another team that's kind of kicking it around a little bit.
Yeah, they lost their catcher, Gabriel Moreno. That seemed like a big deal. And they bring up this kid, Del Castillo, who had 24 homers in AAA. So he shows up, and last night he gets 3 hits and a walk-off homer. He's a second-round draft pick, and he looks really good. Big left-handed hitter. I don't know if he's good behind the plate, but he looks like a hitter, and he showed up for real. So, big deal. And, Jock Peterson, jeez, Marty.
Oh, man.
This guy, he's not just homering. He's just slaughtering the ball. I mean,
yeah.
And Marte is out of his mind. And how about this on the Arizona broadcast last night? Somebody said when Carroll gets on base, and he runs like the wind and is one of the great base runners in the game, he scores 49% of the time.
Really?
This is a guy hitting 215. But when he gets on base, he chalk it up 49% of the times. They've got an awful lot going for them right now, and it's just another great part of this division is just out of sight right now. It's so good.
We'll have to make him grandson of the wind. He'll be uncle of the wind.
Yeah, second cousin of the breeze.
Yeah, cousin of the wind. Everyone's running like the wind these days. All right.
Yeah.
Merrill Kelly's supposed to pitch tomorrow, and that would give them 6 starters, and they got to figure out what to do. And this kid Nelson, this is such a good race. I tell you, I love it. I love it that it could happen, and it always happens like this. And people just don't understand baseball, and they don't realize it's a marathon, it's a mosaic, it's a long season. And here they come with 6 starters tomorrow, and they got to take Nelson out of the starting rotation, who threw 80 pitches and 72 strikes, something like that.
Yeah, well, they got Eduardo Rodriguez back. He'd been out since spring. All of a sudden, he shows up, and he's in the rotation. Gallen's been up and down, but he's very good. So they've got the pitching, and their offense is just smoking hot right now, and their comebacks are just super dramatic. And San Diego's doing the same thing. They just keep coming back. They've got Tanner Scott closing, and Jackson Merrill is turning into one of the great clutch hitters in the league in his rookie season.
Arizona's got 19 games left in the West. 19 games left, and 6 of which are with the Giants. So they probably have got Colorado in there or something like that. So we'll see what happens. But this is going to be fun. This is going to be fun going down the stretch. This is what baseball is all about. Did you see Alex Cobb pitched yesterday?
Yeah. He started out pretty good. Trying to think. Somebody took him deep.
Was Naylor? Did Naylor?
Yeah, Josh. Cobb had a 3-2 lead. Well, Naylor hit a 3-run homer for Cobb in a Cleveland uniform, and he's up 3-2. But he gave up a 3-run homer to Wallner of the Twins, and now Cobb's down 5-3. And but nobody's beating the Twins right now. They swept the doubleheader. They're a game and a half out. Cleveland's lost 7 in a row, and the Twins just took it right to them. And Alex Cobb couldn't stem the tide.
Yeah, so Giants probably did the right thing with him.
I think so. Yeah.
I think it wasn't going to work out. Rich Hill is trying out again. I like that. Some sports writer wrote that he wants Rich Hill to be able to play in baseball, so the sports writer will no longer be the oldest person compared to all the baseball players, because Rich Hill's like 44 years old.
Yeah, as Bob Stevens once wrote, a boyhood chum of Methuselah.
Come on, Rich Hill. Minnesota may grab him because they lost Joe Ryan to an injury. He's out. But this Bailey Ober pitched great.
Yeah, I hated to see Joe Ryan, the kid out of Sir Francis Drake in Marin. They say he might not pitch again. It looked like something relatively minor, but it's not. And but they've got so much going on. Even with Correa having a few issues with the foot, and but they're just on a roll right now.
What do you think of the Tigers last night?
Well, they're just not they're just not impressive at all. They're one of the few teams that I can't, unless Skubal is an interesting guy to watch. But the Tigers are very very uninspiring. I don't know what to say about them. I don't think anything about them.
I can't name them. That's the problem.
Right. Yeah.
And as they used to say, the toothless Tigers. When they really, it's other than Javier Baez and Gio Urshela, that's it.
Yeah. Very not good. And the Giants have to keep beating them. Everybody talks about the easy schedule and tough schedule, and a lot of times that's valid, but a lot of times these games that you're supposed to cruise through, when the Giants have today and tomorrow, they could lose those two, and it could be a critical. They're still big league ball players, these guys.
Yes, you cannot. They cannot go backwards. That's because September is going to be a challenge. Believe me, there's some teams in there. Everyone's fighting. Kansas City is in there as well. St. Louis is in there, and then you got the San Diego, Arizona business. You got to deal with that too. So you got to win these games now. Got a couple of texts this morning from very good fans. Says with Joey Bart, he just needed a chance. Being in Posey's shadow was the problem for him. I'm glad for him. I think it's a good story.
Well, it really is a good story. I mean, he got his chance. He got a lot of opportunities here, and And he struck. I think I know some of the people I talked to. He was he was young. He played young.
Yeah.
He played immature at times, and you don't grow from that unless you get a real chance. And all of a sudden, for a while the Pirates were going with the kid Henry Davis, who was a number 1 overall pick or something like that, and Bart was kind of stuck, but somehow he got a breakthrough. And he's going for it. And, the best part about it is that the Giants have Patrick Bailey, and he's going to be their catcher for years, and he will always be a better catcher than Bart by a million miles. Yeah. He won't have that power. I mean, Bart could hit 25 homers next year. Who knows? But it's good all around. Yeah,
it's a good story. I'm glad for him. And he had to, follow Posey, which was not simple. Well, a couple of tomorrow we'll talk about the 2014 team, which is celebrating this weekend. Boy, I went back, Bruce, and looked at the games again. Against Washington, against St. Louis, against Kansas City. You want to talk about a playoff? How about that playoff?
Which one are you referring to?
No, Washington. At St. Louis and Kansas City in 2014, that Washington game with Brandon Belt hitting the home run.
Oh, jeez.
Come on, I mean, just about every series was completely jam-packed. Anything could happen.
Absolutely. That Brandon Belt game in Washington, I was celebrating my birthday with my wife in the Midwest. We wanted to see a Notre Dame football game against Stanford, and we did. We went to Chicago and drove out to Notre Dame, and they're playing Stanford. So on the way back, the Giants game has started. It's underway. It's like the 4th inning. Every hour or so, we'd pull into a Holiday Inn or something, trying to find a TV that was showing the game. This is a playoff game. It's going to be on TV. We get back to the hotel. The game's still on. And we figure out where we're going to eat. Okay, we go eat, and we have an hour wait to go eat. The game's still on. The game never ended. We didn't eat, but Belt hit one out.
Yeah,
I was just going to say the writers who were there said it was so cold in the press box, which is basically up in heaven somewhere, absurd layout. It was extremely cold, and they couldn't get it properly heated. So a real test for the writers too that night.
Well, we'll talk about more of this tomorrow with the play. Petit. Yasmiro Petit was huge in winning that pennant and the World Series.
Well, yeah. I mean, you're taking me back. I haven't been thinking about that at all, actually. Even with the reunion, but the thing that strikes me most about the Giants in that era was with the talk, all the optimism about this rotation, and Farhan thinks it's the best in baseball, or certainly could be. Well, a real rotation is Kane, Lincecum, Bumgarner, and Vogelsong. Okay, that's a real rotation there. There's a lot of ifs with this team right now, but you throw a pitcher like that every night, you only need 4 in the playoffs, if not 3. And every time they had a playoff game, they had a friggin' stud out there who was going to keep you in the game.
Yeah, we'll talk more about it tomorrow. There's some good moments to relive in that one, especially the Belt home run. August 10th today, I love this one, Bruce. 1971, Harmon Killebrew hits his 500th home run. We forget about Harmon Killebrew. He was only the 10th person to hit 500 at that point. And of course, now we have a whole group that have hit 500. But Killebrew was a true slugger.
Yeah, absolutely. And, in those days, without like you say, the big crowd of modern-day 500 homer guys, he's looking at Mel Ott, 5'11", Eddie Matthews and Ernie Banks and Ted Williams and Jimmy Fox and Mickey Mantle in the early 500s. Mantle hit 536, and it was a big deal. I mean, with him closing in on 500. Today it's mildly interesting, but in those days there was a lot of pressure on him. Is he going to be able to do that? It kind of affected him, and he went several games without hitting one. He finally hit 2 off Mike Cuellar for 499 and 500. But I saw an interesting thing the day before he finally did that. The Twins, playing at home, had a rare exhibition game during the regular season against the Giants. And they had a home run derby before the game between Killebrew and Willie Mays, who had played in Minneapolis in 1951 AAA. And Mays wins the home run derby, but when the game started, Killebrew homered, and his slump was over. And the next day he hits 2 off Cuellar and gets to 500.
Wow, I didn't know that. Very good. Good. That's a good one. All right. The home run derby. I love the exhibition game. Now, teams used to do that. During the season, they'd play the farm team or something like that. I don't remember playing a major league team. No, that's a good one. All right, another birthday today, and he's about 91 years old. But one of the great names of baseball, Rocky Colavito. And fans, if you don't know Rocky Colavito, Google him. He's a fabulous power hitter and a real story of baseball.
He was wonderful. Big guy, big power, great arm. From the Bronx, Rocco Domenico Colavito, Marty. I mean, son of an ice truck driver from the Bronx. I mean, he should have been a Yankee, and he wound up there way late in his career, much too late. But he idolized DiMaggio, and but they loved him in Cleveland. They always said, "Don't knock the Rock." He was so popular in Cleveland, and one time he looked up in the stands in Cleveland, and his dad was always out there, and his dad's like scuffling with a fan who apparently got dead drunk and was insulting Rocky's wife, Carmen. And Colavito just bowled over the ticket holders and went right up to confront the guy, went right into the stands. It's a good thing Colavito didn't get a punch off. The guy'd be in big trouble. But one of the most amazing trades really of all time went down involving Colavito. Right before the 1960 season started, Frank Lane, who they called Trader Lane because he traded everybody at some point in his life, traded Colavito to Detroit for Harvey Keene, who had won the batting title. They traded the home run king for the batting champion. That's crazy. Pretty wild. That's a heck of a trade, and they were absolutely outraged in Cleveland because Colavito had some big years with Detroit, and he was just a prize always. And the Cleveland only got 1 year out of Harvey Keene, and he wound up with the Giants just a couple of years later, helping them win the pennant. But you imagine trading the home run champion for the batting champion? What a thing!
Wow. Did not go over well.
Oh, no. Boy, not at all.
I love it. Rocky Colavito, I love the story. Great to talk to you, Bruce. We'll catch up with his 2014 stuff tomorrow.
You got it. Look forward to that. Thanks, Marty.
All right. Have a good afternoon. All right. Nick Piecoro, Arizona Republic, next, right here on the Sports Leader.
Talking baseball with Marty Lurie on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the Sports Leader.
If you're a fan of Original Joe's in San Francisco and Daly City, then you've got to try the newest addition to the group, Little Original Joe's. Brought to you by the Dugan family, this takeout-only restaurant features pizza, pasta, and parmigiana and is located at 15th and West Portal Avenues in San Francisco. Although the highlight is the pizza, where do you try that crust? Little Original Joe's also offers locally sourced rotisserie chicken, Strauss Family Soft Serve, a variety of local and imported wine and beer, and a beautiful retail marketplace. The Little Original Joe's Market is stocked with local, regional, and Italian specialty goods, as well as favorite Joe's staples like the ready-made salads, pastas, sauces, and entrees for you to take, bake, and enjoy at home. I love the lasagna. Check it out. Little Original Joe's, open daily from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. for takeout and counter service in West Portal in San Francisco. Fans, for great baseball gear, check out Baseballism. The store is located at 3rd and King opposite the ballpark. Whether it's jackets, shirts, hats, you name it, Baseballism is the most unique store I've seen. It is the best. 3rd and King, right opposite the ballpark.
Giants fans, there's no better way to set the game day table than talking baseball with Marty Laurie. Marty keeps rolling on KNBR, the sports leader.
All right, great to have you back with us. Got a nice email from Elliot Kulker. And it's true, when Mel Ott hit his 500th home run, Jimmy Fox had already hit 534. And, of course, the Babe hit 714. So Mel Ott was the third one to do it. Elliot, thank you. I think that's right now. Joining us, he's from the Arizona Republic. We love talking ball with him, and that is Nick Piecoro. Nick, how are you?
Hey, Marty, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
No, we're glad to have you on. We've got quite a race going on now in the National League West. How about that? How about the Diamondbacks? Let's talk a little bit of Arizona Diamondback baseball.
Yeah, I can't. I don't even know what to say about this run they've been on the last 6 weeks. It's been incredible.
Is it like last year when they went down the stretch, or it's a little bit earlier? Last year, July was a disaster for them. This year, they're doing it a little bit earlier.
Well, yeah, I mean, last year I think they had like the best record in the league right around the beginning of July, and then totally fell apart, and just really, squeaked into the playoffs. Like they were one or two games going different ways, either theirs or someone else in the league, from not making the playoffs. And that's when all of a sudden it clicked and they started playing great baseball. I don't know. This year it's been strange. For the first 3 months of the season, obviously they were super banged up, and that played a big part of it for sure. But it felt like they just couldn't get things synced up. One of those stretches. It was a long stretch. It felt like it was just going to be this was the way this year was going to go, where they'd pitch well but they couldn't hit. Vice versa. When they would do both, they'd make a big base running mistake or defensive miscue or something to cost them the game. And it just didn't really feel like, it was going to happen for them this year. And then I don't really know if I can put my finger on what flipped, but they had this really tough road trip through LA and San Diego at the beginning of July that kind of felt like, all right, that it's now or never. The trade deadline's coming up. They better figure this out. And they just kicked it into gear, and they just keep winning games and winning series. And it's now gotten to where it's the opposite, where it just feels like everything that can go right does go right. Like Christian Walker goes down, they trade for Josh Bell, and he stays red hot. Gabby Moreno gets hurt. They bring up the prospect Adrian Del Castillo. He hits the walk-off home run last night. I mean, it's just they're in one of those stretches. Everything is going their way right now.
Well, for me, it was Christian Walker in Los Angeles. He kept hitting home runs and kept winning games every day. For me, that's when it turned around for the Diamondbacks.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a reasonable point. I mean, it's been crazy too, though. Like they've been having like kind of some serious bullpen issues at the back of the game, and they've been finding ways to overcome it.
Well, Merrill Kelly's supposed to come back tomorrow. Is that going to happen, Nick?
Yeah. So they got Eduardo Rodriguez back on, Wednesday in Cleveland, and here we are just 4 or 5 days later, they're getting Merrill Kelly back. And that's going to make their rotation whole again. I mean, this is going to be the group of guys that they sort of envisioned when the year began. Obviously, they were hoping to get, better performance out of Jordan Montgomery than they've gotten so far. He's looked okay the last couple times out. I still think that he's going to be fine, but it just really hasn't happened consistently yet for him. So, yeah, I mean, they've got a lineup that's really clicking. They're obviously always playing good defense. It seems like that's just kind of in their DNA. They're going to have this rotation that's fully healthy and gassed up, really. I mean, some fresh arms, so to speak, with Rodriguez and Kelly, as long as they're healthy. And then, I mean, the bullpen is a question. But I don't know, man. I mean, I feel pretty good about it, too, when you look at the fact that they've got 5 or 6 guys that, I mean, in years past, in this franchise's history, they've had a lot of trouble finding reliable bullpen guys that you feel good giving the ball to late in games. I feel like they've got 5 guys, maybe 6, that I feel pretty decent about giving the ball to right now, which they've got to go out and perform, but it gives it the chance to be one of the better bullpens in team history. We'll see if they can actually do it. Some of these guys are going through some ups and downs right now. But if they can get right, this has a chance to be a really good team and a really dangerous team late in the year and on into October again.
Yeah, no, I see it, absolutely. And the one is Jock Peterson. Nick Piecoro with us. Nick, every night it looks like the guy goes deep.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm I need to talk about what he's done. It's been unbelievable. Again, obviously just against right-handed pitching almost exclusively, but it's an OPS approaching 1,000. And then Ketel Marte might be the National League MVP, and that's as big of a reason as what's going on with this team. He seems to be carrying them night in and night out. There's been games where, I mean, people are joking around here that he's the closer now because he's hitting all these late game home runs. To, they blow a lead, but that's okay. Ketel's there to close it out for him. So I mean, look, that's why those guys. Peterson's been terrific. I don't really know what happened last year. Obviously, this is closer to the guy he was in 2022 there in San Francisco. So I mean, he's always been a really talented hitter, and he's doing it again. The quality of his at bats against righties is fantastic.
I've said all morning long, this division I think is still up for grabs. I assume you're thinking division here for the Diamondbacks. Why not?
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. Look, if I had to put money on it, I'd still take the Dodgers. They've got a lead. They've got guys of their own coming back healthy. I just think when you've got Mookie and Freddie and Ohtani, and then you've got Will Smith, Max Muncy's going to be back, Teoscar Hernandez, Gavin Lux looks a heck of a lot better. It's too talented of a lineup I just think it's hard to beat. I think it's a really good team. We'll see if Yamamoto comes back. Glasnow, Flaherty make a pretty good top of the rotation. But man, the Padres are rolling right now. Jackson Merrill looks like a superstar in the making. That Giants rotation is tough. So I don't know. I don't think that it's a slam dunk or anything for the Dodgers. I'd still probably just err on the side of expecting them to figure it out.
All right. Well, Arizona's got 19 more games in the division, so that'll tell the story as we go. Boy, great to talk to you. I look forward to seeing you out at the ballpark. And you're right. This is a very dangerous team, and it's a lot of fun to see the place filled up and the excitement. So, Nick, thanks for jumping on with us.
Yeah, absolutely, Marty. Take care. Happy to do it. Happy to come on anytime.
I know that. Very good. Love talking ball with you. Nick Piecoro, Arizona Republic. All right, coming up next, we're going to go to St. Louis. Katie Wu and the St. Louis Cardinals. She writes for The Athletic. We'll get a report from Katie right after this.
Talking baseball with Marty Laurie on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Another year of baseball, America's favorite pastime. Baseball is rich in tradition, it's full of history, and so are the Georgie brothers. They've served the Bay Area for over 90 years. The 50,000 square foot showroom, which I mention all the time, is full of some of the finest manufacturers of furniture, carpets, and window coverings. Now, here we go. One of the most popular furniture lines that I love, you know it, is Stressless. Stressless makes high-quality, comfortable furniture, including sectional sofas, love seats, single reclining chairs, as well as the famous Stressless chair and ottoman, and that's what I got. Starting August 9th and running all the way until August 26th, there's a new Stressless promotion. We call it the Wing Promotion. During this sale, you'll receive a $500 instant savings on every wing-style chair and ottoman in Paloma leathers. It's an unbelievable savings. This is one of the largest sales events Stressless Furniture offers throughout the year. So that's Georgie Brothers. It's Georgie Brothers Furniture. The showroom is in South San Francisco, the best source for home furnishings. Visit them at georgiebrothers.com. That's GIORGIBROS.com. And remember, tell them that Marty sent you. Joined by Grant Power. He is the president and CEO of Nations, and Nations is now franchising. Grant, let's get an update on that.
Well, Marty, we've sold 8 franchisees, and we actually have one business group that's on the verge of purchasing another 6. So we've got some great momentum. Our dream and our goal is to do 1,000 stores nationwide. But to get there, you've absolutely got to nail the first 10 or 15 with great franchisees, and we are obsessed with seeing those first 10 or 15 franchisees succeed. We are really emphasizing markets that are adjacent to our current stores in Northern California. So in other words, we want these to be 10 to 15 of the best Nations that have ever existed.
Grant, how does someone get in touch with you to get started?
So my cell phone number is 510-612-0036. I'll say that again here, 510-612-0036. They should call me personally. We're a family company. We're looking to add people to the family. These are the juiciest opportunities out there. If somebody has any kind of interest or any kind of drive for running restaurants and they want to be a part of a 74-year-old company that's striving to have a very ambitious and exciting decade, this is really an opportunity that you can't miss.
That's Grant Power, President, CEO of Nations.
Prepping you for today's orange and black ball game, we now take you back to Talkin' Baseball with Marty Laurie on KNBR, the sports leader.
Logan Webb on the hill for the Giants today as they try to take this series from the Detroit Tigers. We go to Kansas City. The Cardinals are there playing the Kansas City Royals, and Katie Wu is there. She writes for The Athletic. We love having her on. Katie, how are you?
Marty, I'm so great. How are you?
We're doing well. We've got quite a race going on. The Giants have come out of the break, and they're 13-8, 6-2 in August, and 12-4, 11-3, and all that kind of stuff. And they've kind of put themselves into this wild card race. And you know who's right in their sights? The St. Louis Cardinals. That's the next team up.
That's right, Marty. And I feel like this is going to be what we're talking about for the next 2 months when you're looking at the National League wild card. It is so tightly packed. But we've been saying this since May, right? Now we're just seeing kind of the light at the end of the regular season tunnel. There's 40-plus games left, so all of these games, wins and losses, carry that extra level of scrutiny. The Giants are feeling it. They put together a nice little run. That's what the Cardinals have not been able to do lately. They've been hovering just above 500. So we'll see how it goes over the next 6-7 weeks, but I expect it to be just as tight, if not tighter, heading into the final couple weeks of September.
Well, the Cardinals are always tough, and look, they swept the Giants at Rickwood when we saw you, and of course back in St. Louis, and they did make a couple of trades. Eric Fetty is there. He's had a couple of starts, and the other guy that I like, and he's like a Mark Canha in a way, and I've talked about him this morning, what he brings to the Giants, is Tommy Pham. He brings that little edge to the Cardinals, and I think he's helped.
Yes, he's definitely helped. I'm not just saying that because his first at-bat back with the Cardinals was a pinch hit grand slam, but that certainly helps, right? I think when the Cardinals were looking at their team at the trade deadline, there were 3 areas they wanted to improve, 2 a little bit more than 1. So the 2 that they were really looking at was shoring up some depth in the starting rotation that already has Sonny Gray and Kyle Gibson both having great years, and adding a right-handed bat off the bench. And it made sense to go to the White Sox because they had both Eric Fetty and Tommy Pham. And it was interesting just how much John Mozeliak, the president of baseball operations, wanted Tommy Pham, Marty. He knew that he could trade for Eric Fetty with the White Sox about a week before it actually happened. The hang-up on the trade, and the reason why this trade eventually evolved into a 3-team trade, was because Mozeliak was adamant that Tommy Pham also be included in that deal. That's how the Dodgers had to get involved to send a prospect package that the White Sox would take. The Dodgers really wanted Tommy Edman, who was a favorite here in St. Louis. Right. And that all came to fruition just because of how badly the Cardinals wanted Tommy Pham. And we're certainly seeing in these early sample sizes why that was the case. He's been a great asset, great addition for this Cardinals team.
Yeah, boy, it's exciting, and he does it. That's what happens when you pick up Tommy Pham. He gets it together. But what about the pitching? Michaelis has really not had a good year, and you talk about Sonny Gray and Gibson, but what about the starting pitching? The bullpen's fabulous, and Helsley's the best closer in baseball today, but what about the starters?
Yeah, you're spot on about the bullpen. They've been this club's anchor all season long, and when the Cardinals have a lead late in games, it's probably the only time that you're feeling semi-comfortable about their play. But the starting rotation, it's funny. When we talk about playoff teams, we often talk about having a powerhouse 1 and 2 atop the rotation. The Cardinals, after their dismal 2023, knew they had to rebuild their rotation. But they didn't go that route. They went the route of stability. They went the route of durability and experience. So they got guys like Kyle Gibson, Sonny Gray, Lance Lynn to accompany Miles Michaelis and Steven Matz, both who aren't having great years. Matz has been hurt since May. But the whole focus there was to get 6 quality innings, notch a quality start, find a way to make pitches and bridge the gap from the first 5 or 6 innings to the bullpen. So that starting rotation has done exactly what they were signed to do. Are those starters going to jump off the page? No, but they're doing their job, and the Cardinals have the bullpen to finish the game in that end.
Okay. All right, good analysis, yeah. All right, now, last time we talked, there was a real question. Goldschmidt hadn't really heated up at all, and Arenado. Those two. Now, Wilson Contreras is back, had a couple home runs last night and won the game for the club last night. But what about the 3 right-handed hitters? Because when we saw the Cardinals, they were so left-handed that I said, boy, lefties can really shut them down. But are the righties doing their job offensively?
It's better than the last time we talked, Marty. Now, they still are a very lefty-heavy club. As they enter play today, they have 7 lefties in their active roster from the position playing side. That is a lot. And the argument there is that hopefully the right-handers and Contreras, Arenado, and Goldschmidt are able to produce. Now, the at-bats have looked a lot better, Contreras especially as of late. But Arenado's quality of at-bats, a lot better. You're seeing him pull the ball more. You're seeing more line drives. Goldschmidt, better quality of contact. They're not close to where, we kind of accustomed those two to be in their careers. But they're at least showing the progress that they weren't showing in the first half, where you can start to see, okay, they're finding their groove. It took a long time, but they're finding ways to contribute. That's why adding Tommy Pham was so important, because it gives them another bat from the right side, and Tommy's been hitting the ball really well lately. I don't think there's as big of concern for Arenado and Goldschmidt as there was in maybe May or June, but they're still not all the way there yet.
Yeah, they need them. I said, down the stretch, I always say the pros take over down the stretch. It wouldn't shock me if one or both of them go off in September and have something happen. I saw a lot of the Fall League last year, and this kid Scott, was it Victor Scott? He was fabulous. I mean, I thought this kid is going to be great, and he couldn't hit a lick. And then they changed his stance or something. He's back, and that he actually hit a home run.
Yes. So Victor Scott II, probably one of the most elite defenders in the Cardinals minor league system, great center fielder. He's only back now because the Cardinals, who in my opinion had a front runner for the Gold Glove in center field, and Mike Ciani, he went on the injured list with an oblique strain. So they called up Victor Scott, who was a defensive first prospect. But he said when he got back up here to the major leagues, he did not want to be known as just a defensive player. So he retooled his whole swing. He worked with Cardinals minor league instructor and former Cardinal Ryan Ludwig. He used to have a no stride, no tap approach. What Victor's done now is he has a very heavy stride, a very heavy toe tap, and allows more flexibility, more rhythm in his lower body, and it's completely transformed his swing. He said he saw the results almost instantly, and he did admit, Marty, because, these kids are 21, 22, that he was a little stubborn when they first approached him with this swing approach. He didn't really want to incorporate it. Then he did it finally because he said he just wasn't seeing the results he wanted. And those results that he was looking for, those came instantly. So he said, yep, I'm not going to switch. I'm going to keep this approach. And he took that same level of success to the majors. He had a key go-ahead 2-run double in the 8th yesterday. Not exactly the kind of power you're expecting from Victor Scott II, but a very exciting development as he continues to develop at the major league.
Well, he's a very exciting kid to watch. Victor Scott I was not exciting. Victor Scott II, the new one, is exciting.
Exactly what you did there. There you go.
Very good. That's a joke. That was a joke.
I got it.
Very good. Good. Katie Wu, very good. Love having you on. All right. So is the division sort of out of the question with the Brewers, or are you still thinking Brewers?
I mean, with Milwaukee, that they're 7 games ahead, it's going to take a pretty big drop. Now, the saving grace the Cardinals have is they have 6 remaining games against Milwaukee. The flip side, in the 7 games they've played, they're 1-6. So the Brewers have certainly had the Cardinals' number, and it's funny. Every time I watch Milwaukee, I think they can't keep getting away with this. I don't know how they keep winning games with these smoke and mirrors act that they're doing, but obviously it's legit because they pretty much had a grip on this division since day one, in my opinion. While you can never rule anything out, and I also wouldn't rule out the Pirates making a little playoff push. I do think until proven otherwise, it's the Brewers division. The Cardinals have their eyes set on winning this division. You ask the guys in the clubhouse, they still think they can. But, Marty, it's clock's ticking, calendar's winding down. They got to start getting some streaks. They got to get on the Giants level, start stringing together some wins if they want to make that a reality.
Yeah, it's true. The Giants are only a half a game behind the Cardinals in the end of the season with the Cardinals. The Cubs, Pittsburgh, and Cincinnati I kind of have written off, but I realize there's enough games to get them back into this thing. So of the Cubs, Pirates, Cincinnati, you think anyone has life there?
I think Pittsburgh does. I really do, Marty. I think their pitching is fantastic. They went out at the deadline and they bought. I think that sends a great message to the guys in the clubhouse when you have an ownership and ownership really that is not they don't really spend all that much, Marty. So when you have an ownership group in a front office that say this is a club worth investing in, and you go out and you add the bats and you bring in some new guys to the club, it rejuvenates guys, right? So you're looking at Paul Skeens. Obviously, he's must-watch TV every time he takes them out. I think Derek Shelton is a very underrated manager. I think those Pirates could be a sneaky pick for the wild card. We'll see. But like we said earlier in the segment, Marty, I think this is going to go down to the wire, and it wouldn't surprise me, actually, if that Cardinals-Giants series for either team defines their playoff odds.
Yeah, could be. It's going to be exciting. How's Craw doing?
He's great. Caught up with him in Chicago. I think he's done a really nice job, and this is difficult when you are a player that has played every day for as long as he had. He's done a nice job of trying to acclimate himself to a part-time role. But let me just say, the players in this Cardinals organization in the clubhouse every day, they love Crawford. And, yes, he does his playlist. He has the victory DJ playlist every time they win, He always has the control of the music for pregame in the clubhouse. They really like him here. I think he's done a nice job of adjusting to what can be a difficult adjustment for a lot of players and embracing this new role. I'd like to see him get a little bit more playing time, but with the aforementioned 7 lefties in the lineup, that's a little hard. But I think what he's done for the Cardinals, it might not show up in the box score, but he's definitely been a difference maker in that clubhouse.
Yeah, well, 2014 reunion is today. and this is this weekend, so he was a big part of it. We miss him. But, yeah, I'm glad to get the report. Katie, coming up after me is Kerry Crowley with our Giants warm-up. Kerry, you there?
I am, Marty. Just got back, ready to go. How are you?
Well, you're talking to Katie, too.
Oh, the best reporter in baseball right now. Katie, how are you?
It's going to be a great day, Kerry. How are you?
Oh, doing great. Anytime you and I can talk to Marty, this is what it's all about. The stretch run. You can feel the end of this season coming, and like you said, it's going to be exciting. I think that last weekend at Oracle Park, Giants and Cardinals, if that means something, that'll be really cool for both of these teams.
Oh, definitely, especially when you think about the playoff history there. There's no love lost between these organizations, so I'm fully expecting it to be as chaotic as possible come that final series.
I love it.
So, Kerry, let me ask you this. Arenado, Goldschmidt, you think either one will get hot?
Of course. Yeah, it just depends on if they can both get hot at the same time. I mean, I know that these guys have struggled, and there have been questions about both of these guys through each of the last two seasons, but they are proven players at this level, and they thrive in August and September. They're guys who post 140, 150 times a game, and it's not by accident. 140, 150 times a season. It's not by accident that some of their best numbers in their career have happened in the second half. I think Katie alluded to this, but with all of the lefties in St. Louis's lineup, these are the two guys that are really going to provide some pivotal production against left-handed pitchers, and I think that that could be a weakness for them, but I have no doubt that those two will be a strength for that Cardinals club down the stretch.
All right, Katie.
Yes, Marty.
All right. Well, that's Kerry's opinion, so I was going to let you slam him.
And I'm usually wrong, so.
No,
come on, Katie. He likes to be argued with. He likes to be argued with.
I know he does, but I think you hit it right on the head, and you throw in the fact that this is both Arenado and Goldschmidt are guys that are used to contending, and since I've been in St. Louis, the Cardinals have always been a second half team. Those two things are correlated, and I think if you're looking at the Cardinals and what they need to do in September, Arenado and Goldschmidt, they understand their responsibility there very well, and it would not surprise me to see them turn it on at the time where the team needs it the most, and I think that would certainly make a lot of Cardinals fans out here very happy as well.
All right, We'll see. Now, you're in Kansas City. How good is Bobby Witt?
Oh, I feel like he's almost must-watch TV. I mean, when you see it's cool to see Kansas City buy in and have the season that they're having right now and finally put themselves back on the map because it's been nearly 10 years. Actually, I was talking to Brandon Crawford yesterday, and he said he hadn't been to Kansas City since Game 7 of that 2014 World Series. We had a good laugh about that. But to see the reception with Bobby Witt Jr., the face of the franchise, a fan base buying back into a team that's on the rise, that has been really cool to see. I think these Royals could make an interesting September run themselves, and that's because they have guys like Bobby Witt Jr., like Salvador Perez leading the pack.
Very good. All right, Katie, we'll let you go. Enjoy the day, and thanks for being on with us. I always appreciate it.
Marty, Kerry, so good to hear from both of you. I'm sure we'll talk soon.
All right, take care. Have a good afternoon. That's Katie Wu from The Athletic. Well, she didn't argue with you, Kerr.
Yeah, shocking, Marty. Most people get on here and they think everything I say is wrong. And when I say most people, I mean you. So I'm sure you can find a subject we can argue about in the next 10 minutes or so, huh?
All right, let's talk about Camilo Doval. How do you like that?
Well, I think it's the right move. And I don't know that I immediately felt that in the moment when I saw the news that he'd been optioned as opposed to demoted to a different spot in the bullpen and pulled out of the closer's role. But I think it's the right move because right now this Giants team has no margin for error. It cannot have a sixth inning or a seventh inning that goes wrong if a starter comes in and throws 5 shutout or goes 5 1/3 and gives up 1 run. And Camilo had a lot of error in the last 2 months. You're talking about a pitcher who since June 1st has had a 6.75 ERA, and you can't really hide him anywhere in this bullpen. There are other pitchers that need to get work in. There are other pitchers that the Giants simply view as more reliable right now. And so if you need to create a roster spot for someone, optioning Doval, who had options, that makes sense to me. I don't necessarily love it. I don't know what he'll be able to give this team if he does come back from AAA Sacramento at some point, what they're going to do with him down at AAA Sacramento. But I understand the logic behind it. And when you see Landon Roop throw 2 scoreless last night, Marty, you realize the Giants have a lot of different arms who can get them out. Spencer Bivens is still optioned right now. So I think he's just the odd man out in this bullpen hierarchy.
Well, outs 25, 26, and 27. Jim Palmer said this to me many, many years ago. Those are the toughest outs to get in baseball.
Yep.
And I just wonder about the kid, Doval, and how this happens and how he's going to react to it, because the arm is there. Mm-hmm. And if his release point is messed up, is he coachable? Why are they not correcting this? So to me, this is a big message. And it's going to be interesting to see how the Giants handle this in bringing him back or not bringing him back, because he's the best arm they got, and he was an all-star last year. So I think it's a big deal that they sent him down, and it's a message. And now it's what's inside of Doval to kind of pull it together and get it going, and you hope he has that inside of him. So we'll see. I think it's a big deal.
The real interesting thing to me is if they were on the verge of making this decision, if they felt, 2 more bad outings for Camilo and he's back at AAA and we've got to send him down, why wasn't he traded at the deadline? Because you would imagine that other teams were lining up and offering the San Francisco Giants a few prospects, and if they felt that he wasn't going to be in their top 8 within 10 days of the trade deadline, which is what this was, I wonder if they did their due diligence in exploring the different offers that they could have gotten for him, because it just doesn't add up to me that someone who was seemingly has this value and has closed in the 9th inning and could bring a lot to a playoff team, but was struggling a little bit for the San Francisco Giants before these last few outings that were particularly shaky. Why didn't they explore that option? Because in sending him down, I think you look at this offseason, if they want to move off of him, if they want to say, hey, we got to explore other options, his value is suppressed in a significant way now. And so the hope would be, hey, he just comes back from AAA, he regains that form, regains that composure, and you look at this as just a blip on the radar, and Camilo's back in all-star caliber form, which we know that he can be at. But I think that the Giants have maybe misplayed their hand a little bit here in the long run in terms of Camilo, and I'm fascinated to see if and when he does come back, Marty, what he looks like, because you mentioned it, the confidence is going to be shaken by this.
Well, I thought he should have been traded a month ago, and I did say that. I said he was the one that they should absolutely move, but they didn't. And the life of a relief pitcher is like this.
Yep.
1 year you're good, next year you're not good.
Exactly.
All of a sudden, you have 2 bad years, and then you come back, you're the best reliever in baseball. It's just the nature of that job. So with an arm like his, which is the best around, there's nobody with the arm like his. There isn't. Rodriguez can throw hard, but this guy's got everything. That you don't want to give it up. You don't want to give it up. And I think that's the thing, is you want to give him a chance.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and it's one of the reasons where, if the Giants have a year where their bullpen's great, say 2021, the bullpen was so good that season, I actually don't like the premise of bringing back all those pitchers next year. I think you have to constantly work as a front office, as a president of baseball operations and a general manager to reinvent your bullpen and ensure that you're stocking your farm system and your AAA squad with arms who have the potential to bounce back, and that's something that I think that the Giants have been, pretty realistic about just bringing guys back in their bullpen year over year. And you mentioned it, relief pitchers are volatile, and you don't know year over year if they're going to be consistent, if they're going to be the same caliber of guy. And we see that with Camilo, a 2.53 ERA in 2022, a 2.93 last year, and this year is up to 4.7. And who knows, next year it could be down to 1.2. He's good enough to where he could be the best closer in baseball, and we're seeing the worst version of him right now, and that looks like not a major league caliber arm, as the Giants discovered yesterday.
Yeah, now it's up to him.
Yep,
and
exactly.
That's what we're going to see. They got to hit a little bit better. I love Canha. I love what he brings to the team. I love the facial expression. I like as tough as he is. He's in the lineup today again. But they got to hit a little bit better. These 3-2, 4-3, 5-4 wins over teams that they should be dominating, they're a little too close for me.
Yeah, it's going to be torture. It is going to be absolute torture if the Giants do anything in terms of this wild card race. And if they are going to really solidify themselves in this wild card race, they've made the jump from 4.5 games back to now just 2 games back. The Braves are sliding. The Mets lost yesterday. It's going to be 4-3, 3-2, and 2-1 every single game. This offense is not built to win 9-5 like it did on Thursday against the Washington Nationals in 10 innings. It is built to grind out close games to where the bullpen's going to have immense pressure on it every single game to deliver, and the starting pitchers are going to have to go 5 or 6 every single night for this team. It is a really close call in terms of what this Giants team can accomplish this year, Marty, and they are playing so many close games, and I don't see that changing down the stretch. I don't see guys suddenly breaking out in a different way than they have in the past. So I'm right there with you. I say they need to hit more. They should have 1 or 2 more bats, but they don't want to look at Luciano right now, and they seem content with what they have.
Yeah, and I'll hold it up for the stream. The schedule in September, and these are teams that you're going to have to hit with them. You know, Arizona, San Diego, Milwaukee, San Diego, Baltimore, Kansas City, Arizona, and St. Louis. That's September, so you got to make hay now. You got to do it now, and you got to get the offense going. So this is going to be fun. But this is what a beautiful base. I'm so happy that the season turned out like this. This is what baseball is. This is the mosaic. This is the cattle drive. This is what we do. It's not football. It's not basketball. It's not a playoff game, one game. It's 162, and you really do have to play 162. And we're seeing it in living color right now, and I like it.
Yeah, I think that this is what everyone wanted the 2024 season to look like. Really, the last 2 weeks, the last 10 days, where things are interesting, where things are fun, where the Giants are using a 5-man rotation, which you've got right now. And albeit, there are going to be some question marks when Birdsong and Harrison start because they're rookies in uncharted territory right now. But this is what everyone wanted to see. Logan Webb and Blake Snell guiding this team down the stretch. Some good stories along the way in Elliot Ramos and Tyler Fitzgerald. And now they're in the mix. And they weren't in the mix for the first 3 months. They were on the outside looking in. And now with the Braves collapse and the Mets being a team that, you kind of feel like they've overplayed to what they actually are right now. The St. Louis Cardinals are going to be in it until the end with what they did at the trade deadline and what Katie just said. I think that if they can make this a real race and they can get into last week of the regular season threatening a wild card spot, then the next 2 months are going to deliver the entertainment that we've been waiting for,
Well, they could end up playing the Dodgers in the first round.
They could.
Dodgers could win the division and come in third between the Phillies and Brewers. The Giants could come in sixth and end up playing the Dodgers in the first round. It's not crazy.
Well, how about this? The Dodgers might not even win the division at this point with the way San Diego's playing.
No, that's,
and Arizona, too.
Believe me. Trust me. Absolutely. This is going to be nuts. But this September schedule, Giants are going to have to really, really have it together for September. This is fun now, but they got to win all these games now. You mentioned the Mets. Severino, Blackburn, Peterson, Quintana, and Minaya. So you tell me if that's a rotation that's going to put people away the rest of the way.
It's going to put people away enough, but it's not a playoff rotation. It's not going to win a wild card series. What the Giants have is a team that could win a wild card series with Webb and Snell.
Yeah, and they could, and they could get into this thing. So, all right, very good. 2014, a couple of things I want to mention. One is the Junior Giants stretch drive is going on today. If you're at the ballpark, you can find it at the Community Fund area. You can go online, the San Francisco Giants Community Fund. The stretch drive, you can get a Tyro Estrada bobblehead, what have you, that they're giving away for a donation. But it is one of the best things they do because it outfits a kid with a glove, with a uniform and things like that. And the Junior Giants, they don't just play baseball. They talk about citizenship, about responsibility, reading, and things like that. And this helps support it. This is the best thing they do. The stretch drive and the glove drive, these are very important things. So check it out online at the San Francisco Giants Community Fund. That's number one. Number two, how about 2014? They're in the park today. How about that?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, you talk about a team that just faced such improbable odds throughout that postseason. One of the greatest singular performances you'll ever see in a playoff run from Madison Bumgarner. The signature home runs from Brandon Crawford in the wild card game. Travis Ishikawa to clinch the pennant. Marty, what a team. What a team. And this is the 10-year reunion. We'll be celebrating them at 25, 50. We'll be celebrating this team for a long, long time in San Francisco.
Yeah, call me. I'll be
I will. We'll be playing the phone calls from your postgame shows during that 2014 postseason run. That's what we're going to do.
You'll be doing the show in your 50th year. And this is Kerry Crowley again, my 50th year of doing Sports phone 680.
Yeah,
All
we'll
right.
see. We'll see about that.
But it was, and Woe and I will talk about it tomorrow, and Bruce Jenkins too. There were so many of Yosmero Petit and Joe Panic, and the big plays he made in that World Series, and the walk he got again, and Zimmerman taking him out of the game, and Matt Williams has to live with that, and Posey getting a hit, and Pablo getting a hit, and I don't know. The whole thing was just, it was magic, and I'm glad they could be there today. I'm glad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Very well
All
said.
right. Well, enjoy the show today, and we'll catch up with you. How's the family?
Doing well, listening in right now. Looking forward to seeing what the next 44 games hold.
Yeah, this is what baseball's all about. It's our time right now. All right, have a good day, Kara. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Marty. Have a good one as well.
All right, Kerry Crowley coming up with our Giants warm-up right now on the Sports Leader. Back with you tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., and we will find Larry Krueger. We will find them. The question is his cell phone. Can he find his cell phone? That is the question. All right, more coming up right after this.
Seam heads, start cracking those peanuts and spitting those seeds, because gloves are soon to be popping.
He makes a headlong dive and he makes the catch.
And bats are going to get cracking.
Blast one! Deep right field! Gone!
Welcome to KNBR's Giants Warm-Up
Way back there. Goodbye!
on the Sports Leader.
All right, welcome into the Giants warm-up. Kerry Crowley hanging out with you as we get you set for Giants baseball on the radio. Want to remind you that this show leads you into our Giants pregame show, which will start about 12:05 today. It's the 2014 World Series reunion. So a few things to take care of for the San Francisco Giants this week. To kick things off, it's the Key Player of the Week, sponsored by the Key Point Credit Union. Who better than Mark Canha, who delivers a big hit in Washington in the 9th inning on Thursday to help the Giants take that 5-2 lead in an eventual 9-2 win. And Canha delivering the sacrifice fly last night, the trade deadline acquisition in his first home game for the San Francisco Giants. He helped solidify his status as the Key Player of the Week. Up next, it's our standings update, sponsored by the Alameda County Probation Department. Visit joinacpd.org today for a career that matters. A look at the National League West right now. The Dodgers in first, 67-49. The Padres 2.5 games back at 65-52. The Diamondbacks sitting at 64-53. 3.5 games out in the division. The Giants 8 out in the National League West at 60-58, but just 2 out in this wild card race. The Colorado Rockies in last place in the NL West by a huge margin. Look at the wild card race right now. The Padres in command of the first slot. The Diamondbacks have the second spot, and the New York Mets at 61-55 had that third wild card. Right now, the Braves have fallen out. They're a half game out. The Cardinals are a game and a half out. And as we just mentioned, the Giants 2 games out. When we come back, celebrating this 2014 World Series winning ball club that's holding its 10-year reunion at Oracle Park today. I'm Kerry Crowley. You're listening to Giants Warm Up here on KNBR 104.5 680, the Sports Leader.
For hot dogs, peanuts, cold beers, and orange and black baseball, our Giants warm-up rolls on the sports leader.
All right, we are back here on Giants Warm-Up as the San Francisco Giants get set to take on the Detroit Tigers this afternoon at Oracle Park. A special day at the ballpark, as we just mentioned, the 2014 10-year World Series reunion for that ball club. What a ride it has been over the last 10 years as we think back to Madison Bumgarner coming out of the bullpen at Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City to close out the Royals in Game 7, capping off the Giants' third World Series title in 5 seasons. What a privilege it was to watch Bumgarner during that 2014 run. What a special time it was in San Francisco to celebrate the third title in 5 seasons after the Giants had gone 52 years in the city of San Francisco, a franchise built upon star power, built on the shoulders of Willie McCovey, Willie Mays, Juan Marichal, Orlando Cepeda, Barry Bonds, and so many other great players who never reached the pinnacle until 2010 when the Giants won. The Band of Misfits won in Texas against the Rangers. Still remember Brian Wilson closing it out and the special feeling that existed that night as the Giants had finally reached the mountaintop in Major League Baseball. It was surreal. Then they did it in 2012, and then once again in 2014, the golden era of Giants baseball. And the Giants are able to celebrate part of that era this afternoon at Oracle Park with a reunion featuring so many of the key figures from that 2014 team. Of course, including Bumgarner, who has not made many, if any, public appearances since he was DFA'd by the Arizona Diamondbacks in the middle of a rough go of it last season. Bumgarner hasn't been seen, hasn't been heard from, but he will be back at Oracle Park this afternoon. And how special it is for the Giants to celebrate with him, the anchor of that ball club, the ace of that team, and so many other players and coaches who played such a significant role in ensuring that the Giants could close out an improbable run to a third World Series title. So I'm Kerry Crowley. It's a pleasure to be back with you talking Giants baseball, talking my favorite era of Giants baseball. I think some of the best stories come out of these 3 teams, 2010, 2012, and 2014, and they all were distinct for their own reasons. I think that 2010 team was so special in a variety of ways. The Band of Misfits, all of the moves that Brian Sabean made to fortify that roster. You look at the trade deadline, you look at the Cody Ross acquisition in the middle of August to block the San Diego Padres from getting him, and then the surprise home runs in the NLDS, the run-up to the 2010 World Series where the Giants just got outstanding starting pitching, and of course, delivering for a generation of Giants fans who've been waiting to see that team reach the mountaintop, waiting to see this franchise realize its full potential in San Francisco. What a special season that was. And 2012 in its own way was very unique because the Giants were seemingly up against all odds in various scenarios. Of course, you had the series against the Cincinnati Reds, you had the Cardinals, and then the heavily favored Detroit Tigers in the 2012 World Series. Pablo Sandoval taking Max Scherzer deep, taking Al Albuquerque deep. Pablo Sandoval just doing a remarkable job in that 2012 World Series. And the Giants, of course, just an amazing run against the Detroit Tigers, the heavily favored team, and the Giants were able to take care of business in kind of improbable fashion. And I said Max Scherzer, it was 2 off Justin Verlander. I would quickly correct it there. But nevertheless, 3 home runs in that Game 1, and the Giants, of course, winning that World Series in a way that not many people around Major League Baseball anticipated, because we all remember the graphic check to the starting pitchers of the Detroit Tigers in that series, and the Giants took care of business. The Giants were the team that emerged with their second ring in 3 seasons. And then 2014, the team that we're all celebrating today, I think it's worth taking a trip down memory lane as we honor and acknowledge the 2014 San Francisco Giants. And, you look at 2010 and how the Giants were never really favorites in that season. 2012, where they had their backs against the wall in so many different scenarios in the postseason, including Cincinnati down 2-0 in the NLDS, and the way that they came back, just storming back in that series was really remarkable. But 2014 may have even been the most improbable World Series win for the San Francisco Giants when you consider everything that transpired during that postseason. And it's a playoff run that began with the Giants as the road team in the wild card game against the Pittsburgh Pirates, a Pirates franchise whose fans were frenzied, whose fans were packing PNC Park for that wild card game to watch Edinson Volquez against Madison Bumgarner, the 18-game winner that season. And you remember Brandon Crawford's grand slam into the right field seats at PNC Park, where everyone in attendance that night said you could hear a pin drop at how quiet PNC Park got that night. That was one of the biggest home runs really in franchise history, and Crawford delivering a signature moment, something he did so often throughout his career, but to pick up the Giants in that fashion. Bumgarner was just incredible. He shut out the Pirates on 4 hits that night, struck out 10. And it was the 7th straight victory in an elimination game for the San Francisco Giants in the playoffs, dating back to 2010 and 2012, and just a remarkable run. And then they go up and they face the Washington Nationals in the NLDS, a team that, once again, just like those Detroit Tigers back in 2012, heavily favored. They're the top team in the National League that year. They were, it felt like a team of destiny in many ways with the way that Steven Strasburg was pitching for that ball club. The Giants opened the series with Jake Peavy, and Jake Peavy, who Buster Posey really credits with setting the mentality for that team. Buster Posey, who celebrates Jake Peavy and Tim Hudson, the veteran leadership that they provided that ball club. Peavy turns in a great start. Buster turns in a big hit in that ball game, and the Giants close it out as Santiago Casilla took down the Washington Nationals in order in the 9th inning as they won 3-2. Of course, they win Game 2 of that series in really the most remarkable fashion as Brandon Belt hit the 18th inning home run after Yusmeiro Petit turned in one of the best relief performances of all time in the playoffs. 7th pitcher to throw 6 or more shutout innings of relief in a playoff game. And Belt, of course, hitting that tie-breaking home run with the signature bat drop from Brandon Belt. Again, a cold, cold evening in our nation's capital, and Brandon Belt made sure it was worthwhile for everyone. And someone who won't be in attendance today because he's still playing Major League Baseball, Hunter Strickland actually got the save for the Giants in that ball game. Pretty remarkable for the Giants to turn to Hunter Strickland in that one. They lose Game 3, but they come back in Game 4 with a late win. Strickland got the win in that ball game, and they end up taking that NLDS 3-1 from the Washington Nationals. So, of course, they advance to the NLCS against the St. Louis Cardinals, and again, they had Bumgarner ready to go, and this is really one of the reasons that I think we will look back so fondly on Madison Bumgarner's career. It's not just what he did against the Kansas City Royals in Game 7 of the World Series. It's what he did throughout that postseason, pitching the very first game against the Pittsburgh Pirates, coming back in Game 1 of the NLCS against the St. Louis Cardinals, the National League Central champions, and beating Adam Wainwright, the Cardinals ace who will go down as one of the best pitchers in St. Louis history. Bumgarner was masterful. 7 2/3 shutout innings in that one, gave up just 4 hits, all singles. He struck out 7, and he extended his postseason record for scoreless innings on the road to 26 2/3 scoreless innings in that one as the San Francisco Giants take down the St. Louis Cardinals in Game 1. Once again, setting the tone with a critical win against a team that was favored. They lose Game 2 of that series. Sergio Romo took the loss with a rare run allowed in the postseason. Remember how good the core 4 were throughout the 3 postseason runs that the Giants made in 2010, 2012, and 2014. Of course, we celebrated Romo and Affeldt and Casilla and Lopez with their Wall of Fame ceremonies outside Oracle Park earlier this season. But the Giants lost Game 2. They come back and win Game 3. It was Romo who got the win in that ball game, and it was Tim Hudson who, at the age of 39, made his first NLCS start in Game 3, pitched so well. The Giants got out to that 4-0 lead. The Cardinals storm all the way back to tie it 4-4, and then Brandon Crawford, Juan Perez, Gregor Blanco, they figure out a way to get the job done with the old run thrown in, as Tim Flannery likes to say, in the 10th inning of that ball game for the walk-off. So Crawford scored the game-winning run as Randy Choate gave it up for the St. Louis Cardinals in Game 3. Game 4, the Giants come back and they win. Yusmeiro Petit once again picks up the victory in that one. So the Giants up 3-1 in the series. And then we all remember the fateful Game 5, one of the most famous championship series games in San Francisco Giants history. And it was famous because Mike Morse comes off the bench. He was relegated to pinch hitting duties because he had an oblique injury. He's facing Pat Neshek in the 8th inning. Neshek was just as good as any pitcher in baseball that year, right on right. He was absolutely nasty. Remember that low delivery that he had, and I think opposing hitters were hitting something like 176 against Neshek that season. I know that I read from Andy Baggerly in The Athletic yesterday that Neshek had only allowed 2 home runs in the entire 2014 season to right-handed hitters, and Morse comes off the bench right after the Giants play Don't Stop Believing. Baggerly wrote a tremendous article on this, and he delivers the home run that the Giants need. The ballpark's in a frenzy. They go to the bottom of the 9th inning, and they've got runners on base for Travis Ishikawa in one of the greatest home runs that you will ever see hit at Oracle Park. Ishikawa launches the ball into the right field arcade. Oracle Park goes wild as the Giants go to the World Series. And by the way, it was the second time in a matter of 12 seasons that the Giants had walked off the St. Louis Cardinals in the NLCS at Oracle Park to advance to the World Series. You go all the way back to 2002. I was in the ballpark that night as Kenny Lofton singled up the middle. David Bell rounds third. He comes home, scores the winning run, and the Giants, of course, advance to face the Angels in that one. This time it was Travis Ishikawa with a walk-off home run, one of the greatest feelings any hitter could possibly have. And, you know, Ishikawa was someone who had just kind of fallen into the left field position. The Giants just didn't really have anyone else out there to play left field. He was back with the Giants in his second stint with the organization, and he hits the walk-off home run to send the Giants to the World Series against a Royals team that, by the way, was really, really good. The Royals were outstanding. The Giants were once again not considered the favorites in this one. You go to Game 1 of the World Series, and you've got Madison Bumgarner on the mound, and he absolutely shuts down the Kansas City Royals. Giants pounce on James Shields early in that ball game. They go up 3-0 in Game 1 of the World Series. They score 2 more in the 4th inning. Bumgarner wins it going away. He did give up a run in that one, and the Giants won it 7-1 in Game 1 of the World Series. Game 2 comes back, and the Royals kind of take it to the Giants. 6 runs in the 5th inning in that one. Jake Peavy had to take the loss for San Francisco. So you're all split 1-1. You start going through these games. Giants fall down 2-1 in the series after Game 3. Game 4, they storm back with that blowout win. Yusmeiro Petit picked up the victory in that one. It was an 11-4 ball game. So then you've essentially got a best of 3 in that 2014 World Series. It was tied 2-2 after 4 games. The Giants win it in Game 5 behind guess who? Madison Bumgarner, who once again shuts out the Kansas City Royals. Just as good of a postseason run as you will ever see from a postseason, from a pitcher during the playoffs. And that could have been it for Madison Bumgarner. You know, he throws Game 1 of the World Series. He throws Game 5 of the World Series. He'd thrown Game 1 of the NLCS. He'd thrown against Pittsburgh in the wild card game. That very much could have been it. He could have maxed out his arm. He could have said, you know, the bullpen will take it the rest of the way for the rest of the series. My fellow pitchers on the staff will take it the rest of the way. I've done my job. But Bruce Bochy knew that if he had anything left in the tank and there was a Game 7, the Giants would be turning to Bumgarner when they needed to. So they lose Game 6 in blowout fashion. Jake Peavy really struggled in Game 6 in that one. The Royals put up a 7 spot in the 2nd inning. And we knew pretty early on that we would be headed to a Game 7. And so it's really one of the most special games in San Francisco Giants history. Game 7 of the World Series at Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City, and Tim Hudson on the mound, the oldest pitcher to start a World Series game. Remember that. Tim Hudson at 39 years old was the oldest pitcher to ever start a World Series game in that ball game. The Giants score 2 runs in the 2nd, then the Royals bounce back with 2 runs in the 2nd. It was going to be a back and forth affair. Jeremy Affeldt came in and he got the Giants out of a jam. Affeldt with some of the best bridge innings that you will ever see from a reliever. It's really what, you know, he'd already put up incredible seasons in San Francisco, that had established himself as one of the most valuable relievers to ever pitch for that franchise. But what he did in the playoffs in Game 7 against Kansas City to really bridge the gap to Madison Bumgarner was sensational work, and it's some of the best bullpen work I think you'll ever see, going multiple innings in that one to get the Giants out of a jam, and a very well-deserved win in that ball game for Jeremy Affeldt, because Madison Bumgarner, he comes in and he gets the save in that one. So I think you go to the ninth inning, of course, and you got Alex Gordon up, and he hits that sinking liner that Gregor Blanco couldn't come up with in center field. Juan Perez bobbles in the outfield, and Alex Gordon's at third base. The Royals could have sent him home. They could have challenged the Giants outfield and the Giants defense to make a play. Instead, you've got Salvador Perez coming up, one of the most valuable hitters in Kansas City Royals history, and Bumgarner on the mound, and Bumgarner finishes it off, inducing the pop-up in foul territory that Pablo Sandoval memorably catches and falls to the ground. The Giants come streaming out of the dugout, and what a run it was throughout that 2014 postseason. There's a reason that Dwayne Kuiper and Mike Krukow talked about Giants torture for so many years. 2010, 2012, and 2014, it was never easy. The Giants never had the odds in their favor, and they always got the job done. It really is one of the greatest eras any baseball franchise has ever enjoyed, and we're celebrating it today at Oracle Park. Madison Bumgarner back, making the appearance, as I said, that so many people have wanted him to make. So many people will be celebrating Bumgarner and his legacy in San Francisco. It was already secure before the 2014 playoff run, but that will go down as one of the greatest postseason stretches for any pitcher in Major League Baseball history. At the time, I thought Bumgarner was on a Hall of Fame track. Obviously, the rest of his career did not play out that way. But any time in the future that a pitcher goes through a postseason and throws shutouts and throws big innings and wins big games, they'll always draw comparisons to some of the best to ever do it in the playoffs. And anytime you're watching a future World Series with a graphic on the screen talking about the best World Series stats, the best World Series games, Madison Bumgarner's name will be on it. And it will be on it because of what he did in 2014. Of course, at the age of 20 back in 2010, he came up, and I think he threw 7 innings of one-run ball against the Texas Rangers in a critical game in that World Series, and he was just so good when he came up that season. But again, it was 2014 that cemented his legacy and cemented the legacy of so many other Giants players. You look at the core four out of the bullpen. Affeldt, of course, we mentioned his Game 7 work. Javi Lopez in the critical innings that he threw. Santiago Casillas, Sergio Romo also pitching extraordinarily valuable innings for the Giants during that run. That's the reason they're on the Wall of Fame. 3 rings in 5 seasons. Buster Posey in 5 seasons. It's a reason that he will be a Hall of Famer in the very near future, because when he's first ballot eligible, we can all say, hey, Joe Mauer got in with somewhat lesser stats, comparable career. Joe Mauer didn't win a title. Buster Posey was the anchor for 3 titles for the San Francisco Giants, the MVP in 2012 in that amazing run, and we all remember the Grand Slam in Cincinnati during the 2012 NLDS that he hit as one of the signature moments of Buster Posey's career. But there were so many San Francisco Giants who contributed to this 2014 World Series title. It was such a special run for the city, such an amazing run for the franchise. And you consider all of the players who were emptying the tank that season. Mike Morse with the big home run. Travis Ishikawa cemented his legacy in San Francisco with one of the great home runs that you'll ever see hit, sending the Giants to the World Series. We all know Posey and Bumgarner, the core four. Bruce Bochy and Brian Sabian will be in baseball's Hall of Fame one day because of the 3 World Series in 5 seasons. And I just point to, you go back to Pittsburgh, you go back to the wild card matchup, and if it goes any other way, no one's remembering this 2014 season for anything other than disappointment that comes with an 88-win season where you're bounced and before you even get to the NLDS. Brandon Belt hits the 18th inning home run against the Washington Nationals. As you can tell, I could go on and on and on about all that this team meant to people growing up in the Bay Area, longtime Bay Area sports fans, longtime Giants fans, but the Giants will have the opportunity to celebrate these guys today in very deserving fashion. I'm so happy that so many of these players and coaches can be out at Oracle Park and can be honored properly, because what a wild ride that golden generation was. The Giants weren't really able to honor that 2010 team with a 10-year reunion during the pandemic in 2020. 2012, you had so many key players on that team still playing Major League Baseball. 2014, of course, you won't have Brandon Crawford here. You won't have Tim Lincecum here. Matt Cain had a prior engagement. But so many of the other pivotal figures, including Posey and Bumgarner, will be out at Oracle Park today and receiving their well-deserved moment in the spotlight. I'm Kerry Crowley. This is Giants Warm-Up. When we come back, we're talking about this 2024 Giants team and whether it can continue this positive run it has been on over the last week. We'll discuss the Camilo Doval decision that the Giants, Farhan Zaidi and Bob Melvin have made to option him to AAA Sacramento and what it means for the closer role moving forward. So much to dive into. I'm Kerry Crowley. This is Giants Warm-Up. You're listening to KNBR 104.5, 680, the sports leader.
the park in a Giants uniform, and he gets the third sacrifice fly of the game for the Giants.
Now back to the show built for the orange and black family. This is Giants Warm-Up on KNBR, the sports leader.
All right, Kerry Crowley back here with you on Giants Warm-Up, getting you set for the San Francisco Giants against the Detroit Tigers. Giants with an opportunity to win their third consecutive series. After taking 2 of 3 from the Cincinnati Reds at Great American Ballpark, they took 3 of 4, albeit in a little nail-biting, tortuous fashion from the Washington Nationals, including Thursday's marathon game that took all day in Washington, D.C. Giants emerged with a victory, taking 3 of 4 from the Nats, and now they've got an opportunity to win this series today against the Detroit Tigers, and they've got their ace, Logan Webb, on the mound. Webb with a 9-8 record, a 3.42 ERA on the season, 125 strikeouts for the right-hander. He's thrown 150 innings this season. That leads all major league pitchers, and so he will extend his lead when he takes the mound today. Here's the lineup that Bob Melvin drew up for the San Francisco Giants today. It's Tyler Fitzgerald at shortstop, 12 home runs on the season, and 996 OPS for Fitzgerald. Elliot Ramos bats second and plays center field, 17 homers for Ramos, and an 849 OPS for the Giants All-Star. It'll be Michael Conforto who hit the first sacrifice fly of the 3 the Giants had in last night's win. He will bat third and play left field. Conforto, 12 homers this year. Matt Chapman will be the cleanup man today for the Giants at the hot corner. He's at 19 home runs, one shy of breaking that 20 home run threshold yet again, up to a 781 OPS. Matt Chapman has been oh so good for the Giants over the last few weeks. Patrick Bailey will bat 5th for this team, the switch hitting catcher. He's been struggling of late. The OPS down to 680 on the season. Mark Canha, last night's walk-off hero, will bat 6th, and he gets the start at first base today for the San Francisco Giants. Mike Yastrzemski out in right field batting 7th. This afternoon, Gerard Encarnacion, the designated hitter, he will bat 8th, and Brett Wisely gets the call at second base, and he hits 9th. So once again, the Giants not going with Marco Luciano in this lineup. They're going to try and keep things rolling with a group that Bob Melvin has rolled out there the last few games. Here's what the Detroit Tigers are sending up against Logan Webb today. Akil Baddoo, the left fielder, hits leadoff for this team. Colton Keith bats second and plays second base. Malloy, the designated hitter, he hits third. Urshela over at third base, he is the cleanup man. Madras over at first base, he hits 5th. Meadows, the center fielder, bats 6th. Dingler, the catcher, hitting 7th. Javi Baez hitting 8th, the shortstop, who's down to a 499 OPS on the season. My goodness, Javi Baez has fallen off. And then Valade over in right field, he will bat 9th for the Detroit Tigers today. So it's time to talk about this Camilo Doval decision that the Giants made, of course, on Friday afternoon, optioning their closer to AAA Sacramento. I was reading Grant Brisbee in The Athletic on Friday after the Giants made the decision, and he noted that of the 5 pitchers that Bob Melvin has used out of the bullpen at least 40 times this season, Doval had the worst ERA of all of them. He was the one who was the least effective of all of them. And so while I was initially surprised by the decision the Giants made to option their all-star closer from a season ago down to AAA Sacramento, when you consider the crunch that this bullpen is in from a number standpoint and the need that this team has to be perfect in the late innings, it can't just be above average or good or, slightly better than what it has been throughout the course of this season. This bullpen needs to be darn near perfect down the stretch for the San Francisco Giants. I understand the logic of optioning Camilo to AAA Sacramento, even though it might mean that you don't see him again this season. It might mean that when he comes back, he's frustrated with his role, whatever it may be. The Giants had to make a decision that prioritized their near-term success and worry about the long-term with Camilo in the long term. And so when you've got a guy who's not throwing well, when you've got a team that's under pressure to take advantage of a softer portion of its schedule, and you've got an offense that isn't exactly blowing the door off of its opponents, you're going to play a lot of low-scoring, torturous ball games, and you simply can't have a pitcher who's walking guys. You can have a pitcher who gives up base hits. You can have a pitcher who induces contact. Tyler Rogers is that guy. And Tyler Rogers is, for the most part, effective, the winning pitcher in last night's ball game for the San Francisco Giants. But you can't have someone who gives free passes pitching in the late innings. And quite honestly, you can't have someone who gives free passes pitching in any inning at this juncture of the season for the San Francisco Giants. So I look at this team, and it brings up Landon Roop last night, who, by the way, I really like Landon Roop. I liked him on the opening day roster. I understood the Giants' decision to send him back to AAA Sacramento because he clearly needed some polishing. The ERA has shown this season that he might not be Major League ready, but the stuff can be elite. That curveball is an outstanding offering from Roop. I think that eventually he'll be able to help the Giants, and maybe long-term, Landon Roop could be a starting option for the San Francisco Giants if he could stay healthy. The clearer path to Roop's success at the Major League level is out of the bullpen, as we saw last night, as he was very effective against this subpar Detroit Tigers lineup. But nevertheless, I like having Roop. You've, of course, got Spencer Bivens off the roster, who's got a low ERA, and the Giants have used him in a variety of roles this season. Bivens would be the candidate to come back if the Giants needed another arm, and I think that he would be the candidate to come back ahead of Camilo Doval 8 to 10 days from now, whenever the Giants ultimately need to freshen up their bullpen. Or, if an injury dictates a situation, I think they'd be more likely to bring Bivens back than they would be to bring Doval back at this point. I don't know that this is just going to be 10 days in the minor leagues to go sort things out. I think this could be, hey, we've really got to see what we have in the other pitchers right now who are all performing better than you. And when you go down to AAA, you've got to prove that the stuff is back, that your focus is there, that mentally you're ready to go. Because for so much of this season, it has felt like Camilo, unless the Giants are locked in a one-run ball game and everything's on the line, hasn't quite been as locked in as he was the end of the 2021 season when he came up and was just sensational as a rookie, the 2022 season when he actually had the lowest full season ERA of his career at 2.53, and last year when he was an all-star, another sub-3 ERA season. So well, the decision was shocking to send your closer down to AAA Sacramento as opposed to removing him from that role. Ultimately, I understand. And you got Jordan Hicks now pitching out of the bullpen. You've got Ryan Walker, who's been great. Tyler Rogers. I know that Bob Melvin said that it will be one guy, and I understand that, but I ultimately think that over the final 44 games for the San Francisco Giants, they will end up using a variety of options in the closer role. And I don't think that Camilo Doval will likely get that job back, at least in 2024. Maybe the Giants have other plans, but I think that you look at this sprint to the finish line and the importance and significance of every single game, that unless the Giants fall out of this wild card race, and they want to build Camilo's confidence up for the 2025 season, I think that they're going to use the options that they have at their disposal right now, use the pitchers who've been pitching well during the second half of this season, and see if they can close out some of these low-scoring, high-pressure, tense games that they have a tendency to play. So Giants warm-up is wrapping up for the day. When we come back, it'll be the start of our Giants pregame show, 2014 World Series reunion out at Oracle Park. A very special day indeed. Madison Bumgarner making that rare public appearance. He's out there. Buster Posey, of course, celebrating with his old teammates. Tim Hudson, Jake Peavy, some of the emotional leaders of that ball club. They set the tone in the clubhouse. What a day it is to celebrate that 2014 San Francisco Giants ball club, and what a pregame show we've got coming up for you on the other side. I'm Kerry Crowley. You're listening to Giants Warm Up here. Giants and the Tigers coming your way at 105 from Oracle Park. Don't touch that dial here on KNBR 104.5 680, the sports leader.